Major League Baseball. It's the defending world champion Kansas City Royals hosting the American League Central champion Cleveland Indians. Welcome to the Lincoln Motor Company pregame show on FS1. Well, the Royals have been the class of baseball the last 2 years, getting to the World Series in 2014 and winning it all last year. But after 2 grueling, emotional seasons, the Royals had their Central title taken away from them this year by the Cleveland Indians. This was the clinching game. Last Monday, Terry Francona with his coaching staff celebrating the Central Championship. Hi, everybody. I'm Steve Physiak. This is C.J. Nitkowski, and certainly the Royals have been on an emotional roller coaster ride the last 2 years. Cleveland was there for the picking, and they had a terrific season.
They certainly did. But you think about the Kansas City Royals and maybe falling a little bit short this year. Fatigue was a realistic issue for them. When you go deep into the postseason, your offseason cut short. That certainly was part of the problem for them. But the Indians this year, so strong in divisional play, 47-26. That is how they won this division.
And CJ, anytime you win a division title, you have to get some breaks. And one came from a veteran, Mike Napoli, the other from a young guy, Jose Ramirez.
Well, this is a great acquisition for those Cleveland Indians a year ago. They bring in Mike Napoli on a 1-year deal. They needed right-handed power, and he has provided that. You see the 34 home runs, the 101 RBIs, but also the intangibles, the leadership, the track record of winning into that clubhouse has been big. Also, Jose Ramirez, a guy they already had, a guy who was their shortstop but struggled last year. That opened up the door for Francisco Lindor. They have put him in the outfield, they have put him at third base, and he has been much better than expected with the bat.
Cleveland with their 8th Central Division title. It's the Royals hosting the Indians, and we've got a good pitching matchup for you. The right-hander Trevor Bauer will be on the hill for Cleveland, and veteran Edinson Volquez goes for Kansas City. In Kansas City, temperature 66 degrees, winds out of the north, overcast skies, pretty good pitching weather here at Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City. And there is Terry Francona. with Carlos Santana, a kiss to the forehead. And Edinson Volquez will be the pitcher for Kansas City. He has had a rough season with an ERA over 5 and over 7 since July 29th.
Edinson Volquez is trying to maybe finish up this season strong right now. For the Cleveland Indians, they have already clinched, but they are still fighting to see who's going to get home field advantage in the first round against the Boston Red Sox.
Terry Francona penciled in these Pepsi starting lineups with Santana to lead things off, then Jason Kipnis, then Francisco Lindor, who broke an 0 for 27 with a triple, and his teammates rejoiced in the Cleveland dugout.
Certainly having a little bit of fun. It's been a great year for Francisco Lindor. He has really answered the call after the great half a season last year when he first got called up, but he has been terrific. One of the many great young shortstops in the game today.
And now CJ's Lincoln Motor Company keys to the game.
So first we're going to start with those Cleveland Indians saying it is great to wait. They need to be patient. Edinson Volquez has really struggled as of late with his walks, and so the patient approach will be the right one. And for the Kansas City Royals, put on the hitting shoes. Trevor Bauer has allowed 30 hits in his last 4 starts. This guy knows how to put hitters away when he gets ahead in the count, but if you can get to him early when he's living in the zone, there's an opportunity for some base hits.
The crew chief is Bill Miller, and he's at first base today. Mike Estabrook will be behind home plate. Ed Hickox at second, and Greg Gibson at third. CJ, you were talking about Edinson Volquez. He's allowed 72 walks. That's the 5th most in the American League, and he's also allowed the most runs, 121.
I think a lot of that has to do with inconsistency right now in his delivery. Certainly not a recipe for winning when you see Ventura first and Edinson Volquez 5th in total walks this year in the American League.
And here is the very patient Carlos Santana. He's the only player with 90 or more walks each of the last 6 years.
And that's exactly why he is in that leadoff spot. Really doesn't make a lot of sense when you look at the power bat, a guy who can't run, but it's those walks and the lack of personnel really that the Cleveland Indians had as far as what they could do in the leadoff spot. And so Carlos Santana has now become that man.
And that's what we were talking about, career highs with home runs and RBIs, but he's always up there around 35, 36 on base percentage. And even though you would figure, CJ, that he's not a typical prototypical guy you'd have in the leadoff spot, but because he gets on base, why not?
Absolutely. It's one of those things I think people are seeing and thinking about now around Major League Baseball, how you construct a lineup. We had kind of a way that we did things for a long time, but a lot of teams starting to think outside the box a little bit more and putting kind of non-traditional hitters in certain spots in the lineup. And certainly for the Indians, it has worked out well this year.
Well, Santana certainly has been hot for Francona, hitting .420 with 3 home runs his last couple of weeks. Three and 1. Edinson's last outing was a no decision in a 12-9 win. He was very fortunate. The Royals offense really lifted him out of his struggles because he only lasted 2 2/3 innings and gave up 4 runs. Strike, and it's a full count.
And that's a good location on the fastball. 92 miles an hour, good movement, but also down in the zone. One of the things Volquez has done well, the ground ball rate has been good at 52%. He just has not been in the zone enough this year.
Royals with 3 infielders on the right side, 1 lone man on the left in Cuthbert. And Santana drills it down the right field line. Foul. Cleveland won last night 7-2, and Santana certainly was one of their hitting stars with a single, a double, a triple. His first pitch he saw from Ventura, he blasted some 405 feet off the center field wall.
This is another great part of the value of having Carlos Santana at the top of the lineup. Not only his ability to walk, but he is now going to see the 8th pitch of the ball game here. And for Edinson Volquez, as he's been struggling lately and trying to get comfortable, these are the kind of at-bats that drive you crazy to start off a game.
And there is ball 4, and he does work the walk. Yeah, Volquez has had a lot of 25, 30, 35 pitch first innings. The Royals defensively have always been very strong. Eric Hosmer will have the day off. So will other Gold Glover Salvador Perez. Merrifield, Escobar, Cuthbert, Gordon, Gold Glover in left, Dyson in Orlando in center and right. So Daniel Nava will get the start at first base today. Hosmer just getting the day off. I mean, it's the wear and tear of a full season for Salvador Perez. He's had a little bit of a bulky knee, but if they were in contention, Perez would be starting.
It certainly makes sense to give him a break. He has been an absolute warrior for this club for the last 3 seasons.
Kipnis takes a strike, and he's down in the count 0-2. This has been a breakout season power-wise for Jason.
It certainly has, and good to see they gave him that long-term deal a couple of years ago, but you're really seeing the power come around. He's such an integral part of what they do here. A lot of talk about Mike Napoli. We talked about him and missing Michael Brantley. Everything that's going on with this offense this year, but Jason Kipnis has had a very nice season.
And then he singles over the glove of Whit Merrifield, so first and second with nobody out. Now Cleveland will have their outstanding talent in Francisco Lindor, who's only 22 out of Puerto Rico. He ended in 0 for 27 with a triple and a home run.
I think the best part of this is that reaction right there. He knew all about that slump, but a little bit easier to have some fun. Like I said, when you know you have that division clinch and you're having the kind of year that Francisco Lindor has had, the slumps are just a little bit easier to take.
And that's what his teammates talk about. They say his energy is just incredible in the clubhouse. He comes in every day, whether he's 0 for 4, with a smile on his face, just loves to play the game.
And that's not an easy thing to do, because this game will beat you up if you allow it to. It's a mental grind. A lot of the guys that have the most success are the ones that take the ups and downs the same. Never too high, never too low. And Francisco Lindor is certainly one of them.
Lindor swings and misses. It's a 1-1 count. Volquez has actually pitched much better lately. In the first inning, he has not allowed a run in the first inning in 10 straight starts.
When you see Drew Butera going out right there, there was obviously a mix-up in the signs with the runner on second. Of course, you use multiple signs, and even though they got the swing and the miss, there was some miscommunication. And for Butera, that is definitely not something you want to happen too often. You're expecting a fastball, you get a breaking ball, or vice versa, and things can get pretty dicey.
One and two.
This is a changeup from Volquez, as you see it here. One of the pitches that have been very good for him, just a .210 batting average against, and it's a pitch that you'll see a lot of today with all the lefties and switch hitters in that Cleveland Indians lineup.
That is pulled foul. It'll stay 1 ball and 2 strikes. It seems like for both Ventura and for Volquez, it's the fastball that has hurt them, not the curve or the change.
Which is surprising too, right? This is the age of the fastball, and Volquez certainly has a good fastball, but it's location. It's what it's all about. We see high batting averages against the fastball. You know a guy is struggling with the location of that pitch when he's throwing it for a strike and it's getting hit, and he's leaving it up in the zone, missing his spots. And I think in the age of velocity, some guys get a little bit too excited about the radar gun and forget about location.
Lindor, for a young guy, has a pretty good understanding of the strike zone. He has walked 55 times this year. He's had great success against these Royals with 8 home runs and 28 RBIs in less than 2 full seasons. And you know, it's interesting, CJ, you were talking about high velocity fastballs. It also seems like we're in the day and age of smaller baseball players having great success. Lindor, Mookie Betts isn't that big, and he's an MVP candidate for the Boston Red Sox.
Yeah, it's not quite the 1950s, but yes, thinking about guys like Jose Altuve is an MVP candidate and one of the best in the game that we have right now. We'll say that the pitchers seem a lot bigger to me. When I walk around now in a clubhouse, I feel like these guys are huge, but you're absolutely right. That's one of the great things about our sport. Your success is not predicated on your size.
Lindor pops it up. Foul territory. Cuthbert. Infield fly rule. And there's one out. So Volquez will now face Mike Napoli, the guy that you talked about in our pregame. The success that he's had. I mean, offensively, just about every single number is a career high.
Like I said, and certainly more, I think, than the Cleveland Indians were expecting. They needed the bat bad. They needed the right-handed power bat extremely bad. Just two natural righties in this lineup today in Mike Napoli and Roberto Perez, and that has been an issue. So they went out, they got their guy on a one-year deal for $7 million, which is a bargain for what they got. This worked out really well here with Mike Napoli and the Cleveland Indians.
He goes after the first pitch and fouls it off, and we were visiting with Terry Francona before the ball game, and he said part of it are his stats. The other part is his toughness. He has this passion that's contagious, and he goes, and I don't mind that a few guys in our clubhouse are afraid of him.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. And you know, leadership is something sometimes that is undervalued by clubs. It's something you can't put a number on. But Mike Napoli has certainly brought that this year.
Popped up, Cuthbert near the box, and 2 out. But Volquez not out of the woods yet, because the other guy you talked about in pregame is coming up now, Jose Ramirez, and he had another good game last night with 2 hits.
Yeah, Jose Ramirez has really been a great piece of what's going on here with the Indians this year. First they put him in left field. He had never been in the outfield. Look at the difference between a year ago, the batting average, the power, the RBIs. They put him in the outfield, and he's a great outfielder, but he's good enough. It was out of necessity with Michael Brantley being down. He held the position down. He kept swinging the bat. And then ultimately they put him back at third base, let him play that position regularly. That has worked out extremely well. Terry Francona believes that second base is probably his best position defensively, but Jason Kipnis is not going anywhere anytime soon. So he's done a very nice job for them at third base and has been great in these situations right here. Runners in scoring position, hitting .357 this year.
And Volquez jumps ahead 0-2 by grazing that outside corner with a changeup. You can see what Ramirez has done with runners in scoring position and 2 out.
It's amazing to see those numbers even jump. This is a guy that does not get locked up in the big situation, doesn't try to do too much.
Way inside, and he hit Ramirez, and they can't afford another injury. Not with all that's gone wrong in the last month, losing Salazar, losing Carrasco, and out comes Terry and the assistant athletic trainer. But Terry was telling us, he said, what Ramirez has done, he's almost equaled the numbers we expected from the great Michael Brantley.
Which is pretty hard to believe as we'll watch this replay here. 0-2 count. And Edison Volquez is trying to go up and in and get Ramirez uncomfortable to open up the outside part of the plate. But he goes in too far here, and watch this ball just kind of catch the top right hand of Jose Ramirez. Certainly always scary when we see hitters getting hit near their hands, thumbs. Hamate bones can be serious, but it looks like he's going to be okay.
Sandy Alomar, Daniel Nava all studying the wound.
I'll put the oven mitt on. That one's on his other hand. But yeah, you think about this too. They know they're going to be in the division series against the Boston Red Sox. They don't know where that's going to be yet. And the home field advantage is very important to the Indians. They've been a better team at home offensively than on the road. But the idea of keeping guys healthy right now is probably priority number 1 for the Indians.
Boston with 93 wins starting the day, and Cleveland with 92. Bases loaded. Lonnie Chisenhall, the batter. Ball 1. Tara really had to slide out of his crouch to grab that wide one. Chisenhall got under it and pops it up to the right side. Whit Merrifield will make the catch. Volquez gets out of a wicked first inning jam. Gerard Dyson will lead off Kansas City's Pepsi starting lineup. It's penciled in by Ned Yost, then Merrifield, Morales, Hosmer, and Perez sitting this one out. On the mound, Trevor Bauer. Bauer, very important pitcher right now with Salazar and Carrasco out. He has 12 wins.
His place in this rotation has all of a sudden become extremely important. And because of the injuries for a team that's going to the postseason, this was a guy who realistically was probably a 4-star on this team, even went into the bullpen for a little while, but he has slid way up now on that depth chart because of the needs that they have. He's got the arm to do it. It's just been the consistency. The one thing that's really gotten in his way, kind of taking it to that upper echelon level. You see the numbers here overall. Now he has struggled as of late. You see that near 8 ERA, 5 home runs in his last 4 starts, but the breaking ball, 135 average against. It's a good pitch. And you see him there with fastball up and in. He knows how to strike guys out as well.
And he gets his first and his 160th this year.
Going to go pitch by pitch here. Fastball, 2-seam fastball, starts it just in off the plate. Really good late movement on an excellent location in a 2-strike count.
Now Whit Merrifield. Hey, I saw Trevor Bauer when he was at UCLA, and they had a combination of Bauer and Garrett Cole, and I'm telling you, a 1-2 knockout punch in the Pac-12 conference.
Not a lot of fun for opposing hitters. Almost unfair knowing you're going to get those guys on back-to-back days. And that'd almost be unfair now. When you think about it, both of these guys were healthy and pitching as well as they could, even at the big league level. They would be a pretty deadly 1-2 punch.
And he went to UCLA as a 17-year-old freshman. He skipped a year in high school. The 0-2 to Merrifield is just high.
You see that location up and away. Not an accident by Trevor Bauer. This is a guy who is not afraid to pitch up in the zone at all.
And another called strike 3. Looks like he's using that two-seamer really well.
This is excellent command on a 1-2 pitch. Look at this thing. Run back right over and catch the corner. That is absolutely perfect location on a two-seam fastball when you're throwing it backdoor to a right-handed hitter.
With Hosmer out, Kendrys Morales moves from the 4 spot to number 3. He had a great month of September. This is the first day in October. And he pulls it to the right side. Lindor will throw him out. We head to the second inning of play here at Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City. The Indians loaded the bases in the first but did not score. Now Coco Crisp will lead things off. He takes ball 1. Crisp came over right at the end of August from the Oakland A's. Trade for the minor leaguer, trying to bring depth to their outfield. Big decisions that Francona and his staff have to make are what pitchers will be making that postseason roster, what position players, where the areas of depth will be, and he's thinking that they may have to carry 3 catchers.
It could be a possibility. Yan Gomes got an opportunity to get back in the game yesterday. He can't hit right now, but they know he brings a ton of value defensively, so he could be a crucial late inning defensive replacement. Think about maybe catching some of that bullpen towards the end. So it looks like they're leaning in that direction, but they can always change round to round. You do things a little bit differently when it's just a best-of-5 series as compared to a best-of-7.
Crisp did go. Now the count evens 2-2. Yan Gomes so important, and Corey Kluber, that's like his right-hand man. Totally trusts Gomes behind the plate, the game that he calls. Not that he doesn't trust Roberto Perez, but there's a real synchronicity between the two of them.
Without a doubt, and it's always difficult when you lose your catcher during the season to try to replace him with either somebody who was the backup who wasn't catching as much, or you try to bring somebody in from another organization, which they tried to do with Jonathan Lucroy, who ultimately vetoed that trade. But it is not easy changing catchers. Such an important part to the Indian season because they've been so reliant on their pitching, and so the consistency behind the plate equally is important.
Volquez has walked the leadoff batter to open the game, and now the leadoff batter to open the second inning. Gomes is taking BP, but he's just not ready yet. And here's Tyler Naquin. Man, has he been a thorn in the Royals side this year. 5 of his 14 home runs against the Royals, including his first major league home run, which came off today's starting pitcher, Volquez.
Tyler Naquin, a lot of conversation about where he is on Rookie of the Year status. Him, Michael Fulmer in the American League. It'll be interesting. Gary Sanchez as well. But this has been a really nice bright spot. Another one here for the Indians. They were not expecting this from Tyler Naquin. He has been very good here in his rookie season.
Swing and a miss, and because of need, the Royals have also had some success with the rookies in Merrifield, who's the starting second baseman today, and Cheslor Cuthbert. Obviously, Infante didn't work out. They released him. Moustakas went down with a knee injury, and Cuthbert took over, but they really like both young men's futures.
I think that speaks volumes about the player development here in both Kansas City, but also the Cleveland Indians. When you bring young players up, regardless of what they did at the big league level, you're never sure what's going to happen when they get here. But both organizations have had some really nice contributions from first-time players. And one thing with Tyler Naquin is you keep an eye on how Edinson Volquez is going to work him. Look at the top of the zone. 143, 067, 037. We had their game a couple of weeks ago on FS1, and Justin Verlander threw him a steady diet of fastballs at the top of the zone, and that was it. And he struck him out in all 3 at-bats, and that's the kind of information that gets around the league. That's the adjustment that Tyler Naquin is going to have to make here as he goes along.
The runner goes, the pitch taken, and the throw by Butera is wide of the mark. A steal for Coco Crisp. Cleveland likes to run. They lead the American League in stolen bases with now 133.
Well, the element of speed is always a nice thing to have, especially in the postseason as the Indians start looking ahead. Rajai Davis has been really big, obviously, in that regard, a guy that they brought in. But also Coco Crisp now, just his 10th on the year. But you see it, the wheels are still there. This is a guy that they can use. They need to steal a base. However, they decide to use him in the postseason. Even though he's a little bit older, with 36 years old now, still can steal a bat.
Naquin rips it to right. That will score Coco Crisp. The throw to the plate will not be in time, and Crisp sweeps around the plate on the tag by Butera. It's 1-0.
This is a really good throw by Orlando and made this play a lot closer, I think, than expected. But this is also a great job by Tyler Naquin. We talked about it. Lefties and switch hitters throughout this lineup. And so Edinson Volquez is going to use his changeup, and he did. But he left it up in the zone enough where Tyler Naquin could get the bat on it. Does a nice job of hooking it, pulling it into right field. Nice slide here by Coco Crisp. This is a lot closer, I think, than you and I expected it to be.
Now Naquin on, and the batter will be Roberto Perez. Only a 185 hitter, but has been swinging the bat much better ever since he became their everyday catcher, hitting over 260 in that time. He's bunting. Volquez goes to second, and they get the force there.
Perez, this is 100% a sacrifice bunt. The idea here is not to bunt for a hit. He squared early, but he hit this ball a little bit too hard. And for Volquez, he knew he had to play at second base. Every pitcher, every player has this internal clock. They understand how much time they have, and he saw how hard that ball was bunted. It was a no-brainer. Did not hesitate. Turns right away and makes that throw to second base.
So Perez at first. Santana up for the second time. He walked. Volquez with a lot of pitches again, 35 to get just 4 outs. Strike one.
Well, this is where you'd like to see that ground ball rate come into play. 16 ground ball double plays Edinson Volquez has induced this year. As the pitch count starts to get up, you'd like to see him get efficient, maybe locate a good two-seam fastball down and right, or that changeup, and trying to get Santana to roll over it so they can turn 2.
Pass Nava down the line. Orlando with a strong throw to second. They've got a chance, but safe.
Well, this was a two-seam fastball, but it wasn't located down and away up over the plate, and Carlos Santana does a really nice job of turning on it. Watch the location here, just sitting right in the middle. They were actually trying to go in. Ball came back over the plate too much. Really difficult play there at first base for Daniel Nava, and so it ends up being a double. But how about Orlando showing off the arm twice already? Almost had 2 assists in this inning alone.
I tell you, he is a young man who continues to impress because of his incredible work ethic. He was a track star growing up in Brazil. Didn't really come to the States until he was signed by a Chicago White Sox scout. Came through the Sox system, and the Royals just liked his athleticism, and they thought he would be a perfect outfielder for this ballpark. All I can tell you is, CJ, he spent 10 years in the minor leagues, and he is hungry to hit 300 and get an everyday job in the bigs.
That Carlos Santana double, by the way, 106 miles an hour off the bat, which is an impressive number. But talking about Orlando and putting in that time in the minor leagues for 10 years, it's not an easy thing to do. It'll be discouraging time. A lot of guys start getting that 5, 6, 7 year mark, and they start thinking about potentially another career. So Orlando for sticking in there and really having a great year as well, taking advantage of the at-bats and the playing time he's getting here in 2016.
And even though he is not asked to, he plays winter ball every single winter because he kind of feels like, I'm behind everybody else. I'm trying to catch up. Here is Kipnis down in the count 0-2, and Volquez needs the strikeout. In there, he gets the strikeout.
This is that fastball in, and this is the one that he was trying to throw to Carlos Santana earlier. Look at the two-seamer, starts off the plate, comes back, catches the inner third. Jason Kipnis had no chance. It's the late movement which what makes it so good. A lot of times we talk about movement, but not all movement is created equal. Is how late that ball tailed back over the plate and caught the corner, which ultimately locked up Jason Kipnis.
Now Lindor with runners on second and third. The Royals would be very fortunate to only be down 1-0 after the first 2 innings with Cleveland's offense. Ball 1.
And they caught a break. If you think about it, had Roberto Perez gotten that bunt down, that would have been another run. But it's 3 hits, it's 2 walks, and a hit batter, and the Indians right now only have 1 run to show for it.
One and one. Now that was the curveball, but CJ, he's getting his two-seam fastball about thigh high too often.
And that's the part you got to be careful with. Now, if you're going to throw it to the lefty, you're going to throw it down and away, or if he tries to go in like we saw earlier on Kipnis.
Left center field. It's Alex Gordon, the Gold Glover, running it down. The Royals give up 1. They're still in it with Cleveland. Paulo Orlando will lead things off, who made 2 fine throws, did not get an assist in that last half inning, and he steps to the plate hitting .305. He had his 7-game hit streak end the other day, but he was 14 for 27, leads the team with a .305 average, and doing quite well with 2 outs, third in the American League. And he lines this one and caught by Kipnis.
Well, it certainly did look like this was going to be a base hit off the bat for Orlando. He squared it up, hit it hard. Jason Kipnis in the right spot, times it right, and makes a great play.
Cleveland really improving their defense this year from seasons past. Now Alex Gordon, and Alex certainly involved with one of the cornerstone moments of the 2016 season in a negative way when he and teammate Mike Moustakas collided in Chicago. And Gordon fractured a bone in his wrist, and of course Moustakas gone for the entire season, and the Royals have missed that Moustakas fire. The Lorenzo Cain injury has hurt them on the offensive and defensive side.
Such a big moment, even when it was announced that he was going to be coming back this year. I think a lot of Royals fans expected him to go somewhere else. There's certainly an opportunity probably to make some more money. And obviously he comes here and still did pretty well for himself, but did not go for full market value because he wanted to be back here in Kansas City. You have to credit the organization for doing what they had to do to make that happen.
Yeah, he said that he loves the organization so much. He loves playing for Ned Yost and Dayton Moore, general manager. He said they're not only my bosses, but they're my friends. And they trust him because he's one of those guys you can count on every single day, CJ. Incredible work ethic, great family man, great teammate.
Well, that's important, I think, to this Royals organization. They've talked about it before, and it's not an easy thing to do to bring in character guys that can also perform. But that is a priority here. They've done an excellent job of doing that ever since Dayton Moore has taken over.
Here's that injury we were talking about, CJ.
So unfortunate, as you see Mike Moustakas got the great glove, trying to go back and make a great play. There are a lot of third basemen that don't even get that far and have a chance at that ball. And these two great players unfortunately colliding. And you're absolutely right, that was a huge moment in the season and really changed things since then.
And there is a called strike 3. But these are the injuries that really hurt Kansas City. Cain, and the team wins over 55% of the time when Cain is in their lineup. Wade Davis, flexor strain, he's missed 37. Gordon 29. Hochevar 64, and he was one of their key setup guys. Mike Moustakas, we talked about his loss, and it was just simply too much for Kansas City. Not only that, but coming off 2 exhausting postseasons.
There's not an organization in baseball that could afford to lose the level of players that the Royals have over the course of this season. All of those guys impact. Hochevar essentially slides up because they expected him to take over in a way for what they had in the changes in the bullpen.
Escobar grounds out. Mike Napoli bats for the second time. He popped up with 2 on his last time up. The Indians have left 5 already in 2 innings and scored just 1 run.
In games like this, one of 2 things is going to happen. Either Edinson Volquez is going to get more consistent, be in the zone, hit his spots a little bit more, or this Indians offense is going to take advantage of it. Now, they let him off the hook those first 2 innings. A lot of pitchers will tell you you're not feeling great early on, but an offense allows you to get comfortable by not coming through, and then all of a sudden you can go on a nice roll.
And CJ, that had a lot to do with the team's success last year with their starting rotation. The rotation was very aggressive down, trusting the Royals defense, which was outstanding in 2015, and all they thought was somehow get a tie game or the lead to the outstanding bullpen and trust the defense.
And what they were able to do late in games is really unbelievable, and it's kind of changed the way the game is looked at now, and I think the way that a lot of general managers build their rosters, because you looked at the Royals these last couple of years and they had multiple closers down in that bullpen, and if they could get through 6, it was game over, and sometimes it didn't even have to be through 6. And so we see now more and more teams trying to have either former closers or guys that could close in that bullpen who maybe are not even taking on that closer role.
Napoli with a full count. Volquez 2 pitches away from 50 already. This is his 3rd 3-2 count. He's walked the last 2 leadoff hitters. And now Napoli goes to center field, but Dyson right there makes the catch for out number 1. Watch the drive to the pennant with MLB.TV Premium. Watch every out-of-market game live in HD on more than 400 supported devices and enjoy a free subscription to At Bat Premium, the #1 app for live baseball. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV. Ramirez was hit on the hand his last time up. That loaded the bases. Chisenhall popped up to end it. Good little breaking ball in there.
I think Edinson Volquez understands, again, as we mentioned, with so many lefties and switch hitters, trying to use that breaking ball early, almost pitching backwards, the break, the curveball and the changeup, and then trying to finish some guys in with a good hard fastball.
Dyson's busy this inning and makes the catch for out number 2. Volquez perhaps taking the mentality of somehow keep the team in the game.
You mentioned it. I think for the last couple of years here, first of all, Salvador Perez behind the plate, but then the great defense, and this is a big ballpark, and you can trust contact here, and that's been the message, and it is for any pitcher, but especially here, the idea that you can trust the signs that are going down that Perez is putting down, but then also you can trust your defense and go ahead and let opposing offenses put the ball in play. That was the combination for the Royals, and they were really, really good at it for those past 2 seasons. Injuries got in the way this year, but for Edinson Volquez, that confidence and trusting your defense should still be there.
1 ball, 1 strike. I remember his first Royals start, and the first 2 innings, CJ, he couldn't command his fastball. They were hitting line drive, and Moustakas and Infante and Escobar and Kane were laying out, making remarkable catches, and by the time he found himself, he then pitched 5 more shutout innings and wound up with a victory. And he went into the clubhouse and he said, "That's the best defense I've played. I had nothing the first 2 innings."
That's a beautiful thing, and obviously that can change the landscape of the game, because if those are base hits, you're not getting through those other innings and probably knocked out by the 3rd.
And now the bright sunshine has broken through, and there are shadows in between the mound and home plate. It will help Volquez a little bit. We had overcast skies at first pitch. Back goes Dyson, away back, and he can't make the play, right at the wall. right in front of the Fox Kansas City sign, and Chisenhall to third with a triple.
Well, maybe some bad luck timing for Gerard Dyson, and you mentioned the sun coming out, and so all of a sudden he had to deal with it and hadn't had to look up in that sun all game. You see him get to the wall. He's got the ball tracked, and it just kind of catches him in that lower part of the glove, right in the palm, and goes in and out. And that's a catch that we certainly usually expect to see Gerard Dyson make. Did a great job of getting to the wall, but unfortunately could not pull this one in.
It almost seemed like he thought the wall was a little closer. Here is Coco Crisp, who walked his first time and scored the game's only run. Strike one. Cleveland 1 for 6 with runners in scoring position today. Chisenhall at third with the 2-out triple. Blocked by Butera, but now it gets away and the run will score. 2-0 Cleveland.
So for Drew Butera here, they're trying to get the breaking ball down and in. He's going to call for it. He's going to ask Edison Volquez to throw what we call a back foot breaking ball. Look where the glove is. That's where he wants it. Instead, this one stays out there and bounces in front of him. He's unable to get squared up in time. Watch him here. Tries to get down, but not quite in time. Just a little bit late, and that ball unfortunately ricochets off to the third base side. Lonnie Chisenhall can walk home at that point. They're going to have no chance at getting him. Tough break there for the Royals.
Crisp back in the count at 2-2. And then he strikes him out with the changeup. One pitch too late. Lonnie Chisenhall manufactured Cleveland's second run with a triple and then scored in the wild pitch. Now the Royals will bat against Trevor Bauer. They've seen 6 up and sent 6 down. Now facing Daniel Nava. It's acquired on August 29th from the Angels. 1 ball, 1 strike.
See Trevor Bauer now pitching in the sun and dealing with those shadows, and that's to his advantage because baseball will start out in the light and then get darker. It can be a little bit more difficult, those hitters will tell you, to pick up the spin when you're going from light to dark.
Left center. Naquin with the catch in the first out. Carlos Carrasco, that injury really hurt less than a month ago.
It's really unbelievable, the timing and the bad luck of this happening after Danny Salazar had already gone down. Carlos Carrasco, so important. That's the first batter of the game. The Indians actually threw 10 shutout innings. Their bullpen did that game. They were incredible. A game they ultimately won 1-0. But you start looking at that rotation now, and Corey Kluber dealing with a groin, and you have Carrasco, who was now out, Danny Salazar, who was questionable going forward as they try to figure out what's going to happen in this rotation. And that's why we keep saying that Trevor Bauer's role has become so much more prominent right now. They are looking at a 3-man rotation in the postseason that's going to go hopefully Kluber, Bauer, and then Josh Tomlin, who had a rough patch but has been really good as of late. Those are 2 big pieces to be missing.
Cuthbert grounds out to Lindor, and when those 3 guys were healthy, Kluber, Salazar, and Carrasco, I mean, the team was 40-23 with them.
It's amazing. And we mentioned, we see there Salazar, it says could return. Terry Francona told us probably not for the DS. They will see. He's throwing now, and they're trying to get there and see if they can get a little bit closer, but they don't want to push it. He's going to throw a sim game, and that's controlled circumstances, simulated game where he can get his work in, but they're just not that comfortable going from one sim game to putting him in the postseason. So most likely we will not see him in the first round. We will see, but it is really unfortunate because the rotation was so deep. The arm we're seeing right now, Trevor Bauer, he's been perfect so far through the 7 hitters that he's faced. You see what he can do. The 3 strikeouts. He's a 4th or 5th starter on this team. That's how deep they were. When you're that deep, you have a very good chance of doing exactly what the New York Mets did last year, which is ride your starting rotation all the way through the World Series, through the playoffs. They had that ability, as we see Danny Salazar playing catch earlier today. Things have changed here a little bit, and so for the Cleveland Indians to get as far as they want to go, it's going to be a little bit of a different formula. They're going to lean on that bullpen a little bit more than they expected.
I wonder how much pressure it's going to put on Corey Kluber for Game 1 against Boston.
Well, there's definitely more there. This team at this point now cannot advance without Corey Kluber being the best version of him, and we've seen it before from a former Cy Young Award winner and how good he can be. The stuff has looked really good as of late. He's dealing with a little bit of a groin right now, and he's going to be out for a little while, but yes, he becomes critical to what they do. It's almost hard to imagine that they could win without getting major contributions from him.
Bauer will be their number 2 starter, and then Josh Tomlin. Tomlin had that great start. The second half has not gone as well. And we showed you the trouble that even Trevor Bauer has had in his last 4 games with an ERA close to 8.
Part of what Josh Tomlin had gone through was, remember, this was a guy who came back from injury last year in August, and so there was some fatigue.
Lindor will not be able to reach it. It'll be a base hit by Butera, who stops at first base. First hit of the game, first base runner for Kansas City.
It's almost turned into a pretty great play right here. Trevor Bauer deflects this baseball. Not easy at all. It's a one hopper, but because he's turned sideways, almost deflects it to Francisco Lindor and caught a break. But you see the finish here, and you're always taught to try to finish squared up, but it's not an easy thing to do. And Trevor Bauer is a high effort guy, and so because of that, he spins off to the side a little bit and not in the perfect fielding position, but that's not uncommon among pitchers, and that leads to the first base hit for the Kansas City Royals.
Now Dyson, who struck out looking his first time up, he pulls one to the right side and into right field. First and second with 2 out. I guess they're figuring, CJ, why wait to get behind the count? Bauer's being very aggressive early.
Well, that's what I mentioned when we went to our keys to the game and talked about the Kansas City Royals not waiting around. You want to make sure that you get your hitting shoes on and start swinging early, because we've seen the strikeouts, and Trevor Bauer's 3 strikeouts have all been looking, and that's because he's been spotting it up well, using his full repertoire well. So if you see something early in the count that you like, it makes a lot of sense to try to get to it.
Now he might have to make that adjustment. Batter is Merrifield.
And to finish that point real quick on Josh Tomlin and kind of what had gone on with his season, where he started to struggle. He had that stretch in there that started in late July where things were not going well for him, and ultimately decided to give him a little bit of a break, and that has really paid off because his last 3 starts have been very good. Just 3 earned runs allowed in those 3 starts. And so I think Terry Francona and the Indians feeling a little bit better about Josh Tomlin's year. Had to give him a little bit of a breather. Remember, he did not have that full season in 2015. That'll catch up to you late in the year. That's what they saw. They gave him a breather. He's been much better since.
And even though it's best for the athlete, some guys don't like it. You and I were talking about Michael Fulmer with the Tigers, giving him 6 to 7 days in between starts, trying to protect him. And he's a bulldog of a man, like 6'2", 220 pounds. He wanted to pitch every 5th day.
And I'm okay with that. And if anything, I actually want my players feeling that way. If I go to one of them and say, I want to give you a break, I want you to skip a little time here, you look tired, I don't want a guy to go say, okay, skip, and be okay with it. I want him to fight it. I want to know that he wants to be in there, and ultimately your manager makes the decision.
Merrifield, base hit left field. Butera will be sent home. Bobbling the ball was the left fielder Coco Crisp. They have no chance, and the Royals have their first run.
The Royals have done a good job of putting the ball in play this inning. Now they've done it on the ground, all ground balls. And as a pitcher, when it comes to contact, you want that ball to be on the ground. Another 2-seam fastball here. And Merrifield hit it hard. He just hit it right in the hole. Nothing you can do about that. And you mentioned it, Coco Crisp kind of bobbling, picking up this ball. I'm not sure if he had much of a chance anyway. The arm is not that strong. I think Drew Butera is scoring regardless.
And now Kendrys Morales with his 93 RBIs digging in. Check swing on a ball in the dirt. He went. I told you he had 30 RBIs in September, and that tied a Royals record for September with Al Cowens, Jeff King. Great 9th month of the year. Pulls to the right side and fielded by Napoli. The Royals do score a run with 2 out. They cut the Indians' lead in half. Whit Merrifield with his 28th RBI of the year for the Royals, and KC within 1 of Cleveland. Now Naquin, who singled to drive in a run, his 43rd, his last time up, will lead things off. And this young man was one of the Big 12 Conference's best outfielders at Texas A&M. First round pick by Cleveland. Took him a while to get to the bigs. And he sends this one to center field, and Dyson is there. But he has been part of one of the many special moments by Cleveland this year. This was an inside the park walk-off home run.
Certainly not something you see every day. And part of this was Justin Upton falling down, or excuse me, Melvin Upton Jr. falling down in center, and Tyler Naquin stumbling headfirst slide. But look at the excitement here. And this was an iconic moment for the Indians this season. That picture right there has become a mural in their clubhouse, blown up huge on one of the walls there. And why not? What a tremendous moment that was for both Tyler Naquin and the Indians this season.
And that's all about the Royals as well, because they said to each other, this game is hard enough. Let's celebrate each victory. And James Shields came over from the Tampa Bay Rays with Wade Davis, and he was one of the guys who started that. Like they had, it's like music and the big lights in the clubhouse, and just celebrating every single win. And they had a player of the game. Roberto Perez sends this one foul, and Don Wakamatsu, who's the Royals bench coach, said, I've never been around a team that enjoyed each other's company as much as these guys do.
And that is special, and those are strong words and accurate words, because you spend a lot of time with your teammates when you're playing baseball for a living, and you're not always going to like all of them, but you respect all of them, and the ability to get along is crucial to winning. And then when you get in that situation where you actually do like your teammates and you're genuinely pulling for them and they're pulling for you and they're with you in the ups and downs, that is big. That celebration, what's going on, the chemistry has certainly been part of what the Royals can attribute to some of their success through these last couple seasons.
Perez slices it foul, and you have to have that. And you and I were visiting with both Ned Yost and Terry Francona, and when you're with a team sport, you have to develop that mentality of, I don't care if you're from Venezuela or the Dominican Republic or Florida or Texas or California, we are one when we come together every single day.
It's a beautiful part of our game. It is the most diverse sport that we have here in the United States. And you mentioned it was one of my favorite parts of playing this game for as long as I was able to do it, is that you're playing with guys from all over the world, and you're getting introduced to all these different cultures, but yet the goal is the same, and the passion is the same, and the love for what you do is the same. And that's just an incredible part of what baseball brings to the table.
Perez with a quality at bat. Volquez over 70 pitches, and not yet through 4. Outside, ball 4. That's the 3rd walk for Volquez. And the MLB postseason begins Tuesday with the AL wild card on TBS, and Wednesday with the National League wild card on ESPN. Then on Friday, the National League Division Series begin on FS1 and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. The other thing that's kind of interesting, CJ, is that from here, Cleveland may have to fly to Detroit to play one game with the Tigers, because it's going to be meaningful for Detroit whether they get a wild card or Cleveland's playing for home field.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that we had to have that rain out, but there was no getting around it. And what was supposed to be the off day following the end of the regular season will now have to be a makeup game in Detroit. It's not going to be fun, but for the Detroit Tigers, they could be fighting for their postseason life, so it could be an extremely important game.
Yeah, going into today, Baltimore and Toronto were the wild card leaders in the American League, and Detroit was just a half game back.
So they will play that game even if it's only for home field advantage?
Well, I'm guessing they have to.
Wow, I didn't realize that. So they are going to do that, which is pretty incredible. I thought it was only going to be whether or not a team got into the postseason and whether or not the Tigers needed that win to get in. But so it seems like that game almost definitely, I would assume, is going to get played. I can't imagine that it's not at this point, if home field advantage matters as well. So take a look at the American League wild card right there. The Tigers and Tiger fans have become huge fans of anybody that's playing the Toronto Blue Jays right now. They're trying to get in.
Baltimore with back-to-back huge wins, including one in the 9th inning in Toronto.
That home field advantage is really so important. I mentioned it earlier, and as far as where the Indians are, a 288 batting average at home, just 237 on the road. And then of course you have a younger team, guys that haven't been in the postseason, and having your home crowd there the first 2, but also potentially in a game 5 is really important as well. So home field advantage very critical, I think, especially for a team like the Cleveland Indians.
Know they will match up with the Boston Red Sox, but you don't know if they're going to begin at Progressive or Fenway Park. Of course, the Royals had home field advantage all the way through, and they wanted it desperately, and it was huge because this ballpark, very intimate. The Heartland loves the Kansas City Royals, and each one of them said that their fans very instrumental to winning a world championship as you see Santana strike out.
And now I will tell you this
head-to-head. How about this?
Well, I was going to tell you the head-to-head, as we see it here, is the Boston Red Sox taking 4 of the 6 games to run scored. But this is also kind of an interesting angle to me. Now, the Red Sox, of course, would want to open up at home. But think about David Price, left-handed pitcher, struggled at home. He's had a good year, but not a great year. Not the year that you thought you were getting for $217 million. And the wall has been a problem for him, of course, dealing with the Green Monster in Cleveland. And he's been very good in Progressive Field the last couple of years. And it's not all bad news if for some reason the Boston Red Sox don't get home field advantage and have to open up in Cleveland, because David Price has been good in that ballpark, and it's probably a little bit more favorable to him.
Here is Kipnis, who is singled and struck out. To the right side, Merrifield has it. And that will end Cleveland's threat. Bottom 4 we go. 2-1 Cleveland. Everybody wears blue in this ballpark. How about that haircut?
It really is amazing when you come here and visit Kansas City and you see how much that this city loves their baseball team. Last time I was here a couple of months ago, we did a game here on FS1, and I'll have breakfast by myself, and to my right, a couple of young guys, all their Kansas City Royals stuff on, talking about the game. To my left, two elderly women, probably in their 70s or 80s, one with a big Royals sweatshirt on, talking about the game last night, what's going to happen going forward. It really is amazing to get tremendous support here for the Royals.
Orlando, it's going to be tough to get him. Bauer with a nice play. Wow.
There's an old adage that's pretty false, Steve, that pitchers are not great athletes, but how about Trevor Bauer kind of trying to change things as he smiles there? And this is a great play, and yes, he had plenty of time, but it's not an easy one. To make sure, first of all, you catch the ball cleanly, you see him plant and make a perfect throw. You also have the issue of dealing with the communication and wondering, are you going to bang into your third baseman? You pause a little bit until you realize that it's going to be okay and that it's actually your ball. But great job there by Trevor Bauer.
He's done a good job defensively on the mound this year. 36 chances, no errors, even though you said he's kind of a max effort guy, so he doesn't land in perfect fielding position.
And you always worry about guys like that would overthrow the bases as well. But obviously for Trevor Bauer, he has been good this year. Who knows, maybe a Gold Glove in the works for him, and put that in the highlight reel and make sure you send it to the voters before they make their decision.
Here is Gordon down to the count. All of a sudden, Bauer throwing more breaking pitches second time through.
Well, everything that this guy does is with a purpose. He doesn't just throw a pitch to throw it. He has an idea of what he wants to do. He has gone through his game plan before he ever steps on the game mound. And so it's not surprising at all that we're seeing a little bit of a change in philosophy as he goes along. He's very well aware of numbers, second, third, fourth time through the order, and how guys look at pitches. And the way that he throws and at the depth of his repertoire, he is not trying to ever give a hitter the same look twice. And so it's probably why we're seeing some more breaking balls and the success that you see there. First and second time, third time a little bit higher, but that's to be expected. That's a trend that is normal for any major league pitcher.
Well, he's the son of a chemical engineer, and Trevor looks at pitching as a science. Sometimes too critical a science.
You always have to be careful. There is a balance there, and that's sometimes overthinking and using too many numbers and getting away from just competing can be a detriment. I think he's run into that at certain times in his career, but he's not going to be one that's going to admit it, as he absolutely believes in the process of everything that he does.
He strikes out Gordon for the second time, this time swinging, but CJ, you were talking about the grind it is. The last four major league champions, all four have missed the playoffs the next year. The Giants in 2012, Red Sox in 13, the Giants in 14, and the Royals in 2015 will miss the postseason.
I think when we look at that too, it also makes what the Royals did the 2 years in a row, going to a Game 7 in 2014, all the more impressive. I've heard Bruce Bochy talk about this. I've heard Bobby Cox talk about it. Terry Collins, the hangover from the World Series. And it's not just the fact that you're playing later than you ever have. The Mets are certainly seeing, even though they've made the postseason, they clinched a wild card today, but they're not doing it with their horses. A lot of their horses, Matt Harvey, Steven Matz, Jacob deGrom, are down. Those guys are feeling the effects, but it's not just playing late into October. The last game was November 1st last year, but it's also the fact that your offseason gets cut short. Major League Baseball players have a plan for what they want to do in the offseason, and all of a sudden you lose a couple of weeks or more than that. You lose about a month or so, and that's really going to affect you the next year, your strength and your stamina. I think that's absolutely what you've seen with the Royals. It has finally caught up to them, and even though the Mets are going to the postseason, you've seen it with them this year as well.
Yeah, Ned Yost talked with us about that before the ball game, making no excuses because they were in it. In late August, they had won 9 in a row. They had cut the wild card lead down. They actually had cut into the Cleveland Indians lead, I believe, to 3 games, but then they lost Kane. When they lost Kane, it almost seemed to take the life out of them. We'll be right back. Here's our Budweiser game summary. Chisenhall scored the second run on a triple and then on a wild pitch at Whit Merrifield with a base hit to make it 2-1, and that's where we are going to the fifth. Francisco Lindor 0 for 2. So many talented young shortstops in the major leagues right now.
Lindor is right there with them, and Xander Bogaerts, of course, Carlos Correa. There is a long list. We're in almost like a renaissance, it feels like, after that period that we went through with Derek Jeter and Alex Rodriguez, Nomar Garciaparra, Miguel Tejada. Some great shortstops for a long time, and it seems like we're getting ready to go on another run with some really good young shortstops. Probably one of the more impressive things about Lindor, you know, when he first got called up last year, he struggled that first month. He was hitting only about 207, and ever since then he has made some great adjustments to big league pitching. A lot of times it goes the other way around, right? We see a player come up, he's pretty successful early on, all of a sudden the league figures him out. It was opposite for Francisco Lindor. After those early struggles about a month in, he has been swinging an excellent bat. He's adjusted well to the big league level. You talked about how well he does with failure and where he is from a personality standpoint. This guy's been a lot of fun to watch, and the battle for the Gold Glove in the American League is going to be a fun one to watch here for years to come.
Escobar of the Royals won it last year, and they have a dynamic young defensive talent in Raul Mondesi. It's been amazing when he's been playing second base alongside Escobar, and Raul has told me that Esky has been so important. He will discuss hitters with him. He'll tell him, why don't you move over one step to your left and the ball will be hit in that direction. Reads bat swings, and so many things you can learn as a young defensive player or offensive player. And that pitch is down low, and Lindor will accept the fourth walk from Volquez. Let's go to Ryan. Thank you, Ryan. And how about that? San Francisco trying to beat Clayton Kershaw, and the Cardinals were down. You and I were watching that ball game. Michael Wacha got knocked out early. So many great moments. I think we're going to have a playoff game.
We will see. I mean, it would be. I mean, you think about the game Monday and then a potential tie in either of these wild cards. It could get pretty interesting here as the season is winding down. But even what happens after 162 games, all things may not be settled here in baseball and what the postseason picture is going to be, which is incredible to think. 6 months of baseball, and we still potentially could have a tie in either league for the wild card. It's just fascinating.
Yeah, just think about it. The poor Detroit Tigers will have to play on Monday against Cleveland, and let's say they have to play a play-in game on Tuesday and then a wild card game. They may have to start the division series with the number 4 starter.
Can you imagine? I mean, listen, they'll be happy to be there because they couldn't win the division this year, but yeah, starting it with your 4th starter would be a very difficult thing to do when you're going up against the Texas Rangers ball club that's very strong this year.
That's why I love the wild card, and there was no greater example of that than right here 2 years ago. Yesterday was the 2-year anniversary of Oakland versus Kansas City, one of the greatest games in the history of postseason, won by the Royals, and that electrified them, and they won the next 8 postseason games.
That game was amazing. I mean, that was a game that if you're watching it and saying, if you know baseball, that's a game they probably should not have won, and yet there they were. They pull it out and went on an incredible run all the way to a game 7.
Down 4, 7th inning, facing their nemesis John Lester. Didn't seem possible.
Left them in there too long. Easy to say now, but they definitely left them in there a little bit too long.
First time, I think, in postseason history, 7 different players had stolen bases. Lindor bluffs, does not go, and there's a strike to Napoli.
We heard that in that highlight. Manny Machado, by the way, as we were talking about shortstops, he could be one of the best of the group, except he doesn't play shortstop. He played shortstop for a little while, and he's been great at third base. But with J.J. Hardy there's no need for the Orioles to put him at short. But had Manny Machado come up and stayed as a shortstop, he would be in that conversation as well. He actually might be the best of the group.
His athleticism, his arm. Hardy at Napoli's or wherever he goes. And they don't know where they're going. Could be home, could be Boston, could be Detroit first.
They love him in Cleveland. He has really made a name for himself. I got into my Uber today to come to the ballpark, and I sat down. The guy says, "Oh, are you a baseball player?" I said, "No, I'm just going to work at the game." And he goes, "Oh man, this morning I had Mike Napoli in my car." This guy had driven Mike Napoli to the ballpark earlier. He says, "You know, I don't like to bother people." He said, but I couldn't help myself. I just had to ask him. I said, "Hey, has anybody ever told you look like Mike Napoli?" That was kind of his aim to do it maybe politely. And Mike Napoli said, "Yeah, it's actually me." And the driver said he was very gracious about it.
Volquez strikes him out. Well, that's what's coming up. Unforgettable games, undeniable greatness, and unstoppable drama. The 2016 postseason begins October 4th. Go to MLB.com/postseason for a full schedule.
You mentioned drama. David Ortiz's last year. Terry Francona, who helped break that curse in 2004, now managing the other team that the Red Sox are going to play in the first round. It's going to be a lot of fun.
So many great storylines, and Jose Ramirez, one of the sparks of Cleveland's offense this year. One ball, one strike.
Of course, Mike Napoli used to play for the Red Sox as well. That'll be an interesting storyline, but this postseason is certainly shaping up to, I think, what we all would want it to be. No real juggernauts. Yes, the Cubs are a strong team, but their probably biggest weakness is history. It has not been on their side. Another great storyline. It's going to be a great postseason this year.
The Royals have always been a great base running team, but Terry Francona said that's one of the marks that he's most proud of this year. The Indians base running. 133 steals. He goes, and the pitch swung on and fouled off, and I think Butera may have taken it off his right hand, or he's limping maybe off a leg.
Let's watch here. It's a changeup that's down. Ramirez swings at. I don't think it was a run, but yeah, caught him right.
The inner thigh.
Yeah, scary a little bit. You always think hand the first thing when he reacts that way, which certainly would be a little bit more difficult, but fortunately just the thigh.
Lindor with a huge lead, does not go, and a check swing. Count is even. It would have been a good pitch to go on.
Well, you mentioned the base running, and it's not just the stolen bases where the Cleveland Indians have been really strong, but as we see the American League leaders by team easily leading the Kansas City Royals. But it's not even just the stolen bases. It's taking the extra base. It's tagging up. It's not getting doubled up in certain situations. And Terry Francona said he challenged his team early on to put a little bit more effort into your base running, put a little bit more time in pregame, starting in spring training, and really address it and treat it the way that it deserves to be treated. They've done an excellent job.
Ramirez with a base hit to right field. Lindor will make it to third. Getting back in time at first base is Jose. First and third for Cleveland with now just one out.
And this is a great example. We talk about it. The Indians know where they're going. At least they know they're going to be in the postseason, but they don't stop running the bases hard. Two-seam fastball tried to go in, leaks over the plate just a little bit too much, still gets the ground ball. But Jose Ramirez is able to hit it where he wants to. But no hesitation by Francisco Lindor. He knows he wants to go first to third. He knows Orlando has a strong arm, so you have to hustle. And even Ramirez on the cut. If you're not paying attention, if you're not all the way in, you very easily could get doubled up on that ball when the throw comes behind you, and he does not. And that is something that Terry Francona is very proud of with this team, that they have invested into the base running. Watch Ramirez here. He's watching this the whole time, watching the throw. Doesn't put his head down, doesn't make any assumption. Yeah, it's a close play and almost gets doubled up. But he does a really nice job of making sure that doesn't happen. It's not always easy to get your players to buy into things like running the bases with full effort, as silly as it sounds. It's not an automatic with a lot of teams.
And Ramirez had a lead at first base like he was going to go. And this is going to be tough for Kansas City. Do you throw through with Lindor's speed at third? And this is the threat and the fear that a lot of teams had facing the Royals last year, when they would bring off Dyson or Terrence Gore off the bench and just get into the minds of the defense.
So many different things happening here. Edison Velca is also thinking of it right now, so that puts pressure on him to be a little bit quicker to the plate. And for Jose Ramirez, not just about stealing that base, but trying to get Volquez maybe to make a mistake up in the zone. That always happens as well when you have a good run of the Royals. We're doing that to people all the time these last couple of years. And you get into a tense situation in a close game, especially late, that's where that base running is really going to start showing up.
Didn't miss by much. This likely will be his last inning. He's already thrown 97 pitches. It's not the total, though. Every single inning has been taxing for Volquez. The lefty Scott Alexander started to warm. That'll be deep enough. Gordon makes the catch, brings the throw to second, and the Cleveland takes a 3-1 lead. Well, there's the result of good base running.
Good base running and good situational hitting from Lonnie Chisenhall. Close game, not trying to do too much. Take what the pitcher gives you. You have an opportunity to lift a fly ball to left field. He does exactly that and gets that runner in.
Now Coco Crisp. Ramirez big lead. They throw over. Coco shows bunt, pulls it back, but takes strike one. Ramirez with 22 stolen bases this year. He's been caught 7 times. One and two.
Well, you wonder about an ideal time to go. You got Coco Crisp down in the counts, 2 outs. Probably not a terrible idea. It's not the worst thing in the world if Coco Crisp starts off the next inning. You got Chris, Naquin, and Perez. So taking that chance, thinking about getting in scoring position with Ramirez, this probably would be a pretty good time to go.
Well, he bluffed a move, but then held up.
And the other part of that as well is kind of watching the pitcher patterns and figuring out when was he going to try to use that breaking ball. Ahead in the count, you're going to try to strike a guy out. Now we've seen Edison Volquez try to do it with the fastball in, that front door 2-seam fastball we've seen, but also trying to bury the breaking ball down in the zone. And so that guessing game starts as well as you try to figure out what pitch may be coming next.
And it just does graze the outside corner with a good changeup for strike 3. But a run scores for Cleveland. They're up 3-1. Three to 1 Indians leading the Royals, and Edinson Volquez perhaps his afternoon over after going 5 tough innings in Dave Island. Talking with his pitcher. Now it's Daniel Nava to face Trevor Bauer. Bauer giving up 1 run on 3 hits in the 3rd inning, but that's it. He has had 3 perfect innings in the 1st, 2nd, and 4th. Nava takes strike 2.
See Trevor Bauer being pretty fidgety there. He's got some anxiety to him when he pitches. What I really like though is you watch him, walking around the mound, not wasting a lot of time thinking, standing near the rubber. If anything, Daniel Nava right now is the one that is trying to slow him down and trying to break up that rhythm. See if he can get Trevor Bauer off of his game.
And that is strike 3 called. Well, this is the final year for great broadcaster Vin Scully, who had a chance to work with President Reagan in the '89 All-Star game and has a royal moment.
Football, I don't know if there's ever been anyone doing it.
Hey. He's remarkable, and look at that one. Bo Jackson says hello.
Greatest storyteller of all time, Vin Scully, calling Bo Jackson's home run. And it was a mammoth shot off Rick Russell.
It certainly was. And Vin Scully will be missed around the baseball world and what he has brought to us for so many years. And for more than most of our lifetime, 67 years calling those Dodger games, and really a big year in broadcasting. Dick Enberg is finishing up his illustrious career. Bill Brown, who was the voice of the Astros for 30 years, is stepping away. But Vin Scully, one of the greatest we've ever had in our game. 20 no-hitters and 3 perfect games. That is unbelievable.
One of the classiest gentlemen I've ever been around, too, because when I was with the Angels, of course, would play the Dodgers in the Freeway Series, and we had many conversations, whether it was about baseball or his growing up in New York. And just a fascinating guy, but with a true heart and so selfless.
I think that comes across in the broadcast. I think any broadcaster you listen to, you can pick up on the guys that maybe are a little bit more self-involved than others, and the ones that are there that just absolutely love bringing the game to audiences and doing it with humility. And that is certainly what Vin Scully was to baseball fans for all those years.
Yeah, he was the first I heard when a home run would be struck, he would let the crowd tell the story.
There's an art to silence in this business, and I'm just a baby in this industry, and you try to learn it as you go, and it's not so easy being quiet.
There is the first walk by Trevor Bauer. Well, later tonight, don't miss Hurt and Hustle as Hall of Famer Frank Thomas and Hit King Pete Rose defend their opinions on baseball's biggest issues and topics. Hurt and Hustle is tonight at 7 o'clock Eastern, only on FS1.
I promise you this, if you stick around and watch that show, you will be entertained. This is for all those of us that work at FS1 and do studio there. We get to see that show live because when those two guys are together, they have a lot of fun. Two great, obviously, baseball players, but also some really big personalities in the game. I'll have Jose Canseco on their first episode after this game is over, and it'll be an absolute treat. But being around Frank Thomas and being around Pete Rose in person, I can tell you that the show will be absolutely entertaining.
Here it's 3-1. The Indians leading the Royals. 1 out, 1 on. Tying run at the plate in Drew Butera. He's hit 4 home runs this year. 1 ball, 1 strike. Bauer had been perfect through the first 8 batters, and then Butera struck one sharply up the middle that glanced off the glove as Bauer tried to make the play behind his back, and it went out towards short. He had no chance to get Drew. Awfully close.
No one certainly appeared to catch the corner. Trevor Bauer absolutely thought so as well, but it's been an excellent game. The 3 base hits have all been on the ground. We just saw the first walk. Watch this slider here. He wanted this one. Just been off the plate, but took a call that he was expecting to get.
Now it's 3-1. Cleveland has talked to Trevor about pitching on short rest in the postseason, and he said he's up to it. And Terry Francona said he has the kind of mindset and body that could pitch every day.
The way that he trains, we saw him before the game, the way that he long tosses, he is not afraid to be out there. It's the guy that would not be afraid to throw 145, 150 pitches in a game. He absolutely believes that he can go that far, and so the idea of short rest is a non-issue for him. I don't even think he thinks twice about it. He believes that he can be ready if need be, and the way that things are going right now for the Indians and the injuries they have in that rotation, that absolutely may be the case this postseason.
Put the hit and run on with Cheslor Cuthbert. Let me get your take on that, CJ. What do you think of long tossing? I've talked to pitchers who said, I love it, works for me, and others said, absolutely not, because I want to be throwing off a mound as often as I can.
I'm a believer in long toss. I like long toss. I've always done long toss. I did it in college and watched my velocity jump. I did not throw very hard in high school. Couldn't break 80 miles an hour, and then right before I got drafted as a junior, I was touching in the mid-90s, and I credit long toss for a lot of those gains that I made. But there's not one way to do things in this game. I think that's important to note. If it doesn't feel right for your arm, then you probably shouldn't do it. If you don't believe in it, you don't want to force it. But I would encourage, whether it's amateur players or whether it's players that are earlier in their professional careers, just to make sure that you're doing your homework and you understand it and find what works for you. Now, Trevor Bauer takes it to some pretty extreme limits as far as how far he goes, but I'm a believer in long toss, the idea of getting your arm long and loose and building up arm strength. It worked for me, and I think it works for other people as well.
And Trevor said he started doing it at the age of 10. And he said he used it as a command thing where, hey, if I'm short, I know I have to make an adjustment.
Might be a little early for me, 10 years old on the long toss, but listen, you can't argue with the fact that you have a guy in the big leagues right now who is an impact major league pitcher with great stuff. It has worked for him, and he said 10 might be a little bit early, but long toss, I believe, absolutely works when it comes to arm strength and velocity. It's why we're seeing, part of the reason why we're seeing so many guys throw so hard. long tossing a lot earlier. They know a lot more about how to train as a pitcher.
Dyson checks the swing. The ball got away. No advance, though. And all of a sudden, Bauer fighting his command a little bit after he struck out Nava. He has walked Cuthbert and Butera, 8 and 9 hitters back to back, and has Gerard Dyson, who singled his last time, up to put together a 7-game hit streak. Dyson 6 for 13 on this homestand.
This is another thing that Terry Francona had talked about when it comes to Trevor Bauer. Is he's got a great arm. These moments where the intensity starts to come up a little bit, the overthrowing, and making sure that he understands it's okay. It doesn't have to be 100% max effort right now. With that kind of stuff, sometimes backing off a little bit can be just as effective.
The old line from Greg Maddux: the louder the crowd, the softer I throw.
Plus and minus. It's not an easy thing to do. It comes with maturity, especially when you're pitching at the biggest level you'll ever pitch at in your life. Confidence to go 90% on your two-seam fastball or whatever pitch it may be, as opposed to trying to overthrow. When you overthrow it, the movement's not going to be as much. Your location's not going to be as good. That's when you're going to start to get yourself in trouble.
This could be 2. Tag Butera, but no, it'll be 1st and 3rd. And that was interesting because Butera did a good job in backing up, because now you have Dyson at first base and he could steal second base.
Well, Jason Kipnis knew that they were not going to be able to turn this double play in the traditional sense, so he runs Butera back. Now the idea, if you can, is to get that runner going backwards, then throw the ball to first base, and then you go to second and you get the double play that way. But with Dyson running, it is no easy proposition, and so Jason Kipnis played it safe and just took the out with Drew Butera.
And that's why it was smart by Butera just to put the brakes on and back up. Merrifield drove in the Royals' only run with a single to left field just by the diving Lindor. Dyson goes. Pitch swung on and missed. And that is stolen base number 30 for Dyson. He and Jose Altuve, the only American leaguers with 25 or more stolen bases each of the last 5 years. And that is his 4th 30 stolen base season. Check swing, he went. And they will tag him and record the final out. So 7 strikeouts in 5 innings for Bauer. Cleveland with a 3-1 lead over Kansas City as we head to the 6th inning, and Scott Alexander answers our AT&T call to the bullpen.
See the 16 games there. One of the many rookies right now on this Kansas City Royals club getting an opportunity. Batting average against has not been so great for Alexander, even though he is left-handed. Lefties hitting .375 against him so far here early in his career.
Yeah, he has had quite a year. I mean, he started losing weight. His energy was down. He went in to see a doctor and discovered he has diabetes. So he had to go through that, recover, get the strength and conditioning back up. And there's a ground ball to first. Nava has it, gets it to Alexander in time. 1 out. They really feel he'll be back at tip-top shape by spring training next year because they like his toughness, the way he competes.
It never is a bad thing if you can throw a baseball with your left arm. So you put all those things together, you get a competitive guy. 27 years old as a rookie, but it does not matter. We've seen it kind of consistently, not always, but left-handed pitchers sometimes taking a little bit longer to develop. We see them start to kind of hit their strides a little bit later, maybe than your average pitcher.
Now Perez, who's been on twice, once on a fielder's choice, the other time on a walk. He went, and he's down in the count 0-2. Berta will carry that catching load with Yan Gomes coming back from the injured list. And Alexander strikes him out. Fans, the most popular way to follow the pennant races and the postseason is with MLB.com at bat, the #1 app for live baseball. Enjoy game day, live game video highlights, StatCast, news, and more. Get MLB.com at bat on your favorite device now. Alexander now facing Carlos Santana, and he takes low, ball 1. One of the goals every single year by Royals general manager Dayton Moore is to have the starting rotation give him 1,000 innings. Now they haven't been able to do that, but they've come awfully close. Like last year, they were around 950. The year before that, about 970. And they feel like they have the makings of that with Ian Kennedy, Giordano Ventura, Danny Duffy, and the strides that they have made, and also the fact that they're really encouraged by Jason Vargas and what they've seen coming back from Tommy John surgery.
You never know what's going to happen when guys come off of their surgeries, but Jason Vargas has been really good, and that's a positive sign when you start looking ahead to the next season, which is exactly where the Royals are right now. And because of the way this team has been built, I'm looking for a bunch of complete games and going deep in games, and so I think 1,000 innings out of your starting rotation is certainly a fair goal, and then you have that great bullpen to turn it over. The formula that has been here in Kansas City the last 2 years is one I'm sure that they're hoping to repeat again in 2017.
And CJ, you were a pitcher. A guy like Giordano Ventura, we just had a shot of him in the dugout. What would you do if you had his kind of talent and were going home in the offseason?
It's tough with him because you see so much upside. Obviously, the Royals saw the upside when they gave him the deal that they gave him, but there's been some inconsistencies, and I think people that watch him will tell you that it doesn't look like and feel like from the outside that it's physical. It feels like that it's more mental, and so the idea of having, I think, a really good mentor around would be ideal with him. Talking about how you handle some of these situations. We see him get worked up. I know last year probably more than this year, but where his emotions can get the best of him, and whether that means knocking somebody down or hitting them or overthrowing up over the plate a little bit, I think has probably been one of his issues. But the talent level is off the charts, and he should be and could be one of the best, and he should be the ace on this team, but he has not been able to really capture that #1 spot in that rotation. So I think it's just a matter of him being around the right veteran guy and talking him through some situations, and him being open and listening just a little bit more.
But he has such a gift. All 3 above average pitches, fastball, curveball and changeup. But as you said, sometimes when you take off, ball moves a little better.
Yes. It's not an easy thing to do, though, especially when you're young and you have that kind of live arm.
Santana to right field and deep. And it hits off the top of the wall, bounces away from Orlando. Santana's going to go for 3. And boy, he has been a monster against Kansas City this year. Hitting over .430 his last couple of weeks. And that is his 4th extra base hit against the Royals in this series.
Well, this was a great at bat, as you see, a 10th career triple. But when you're going up against the lefty as a right-handed hitter, the best approach you can have is that one right there, where you're not trying to do too much because you know you're going to get pitches away. Just missed hitting a home run as that ball hit off the top and kind of took an awkward bounce for Orlando. And you're going to get that here with the way that the walls curve in a little bit right at the foul lines. But the approach in which he took right there, not trying to do too much, is an impressive at bat.
Now Kipnis 1 for 3. Played by Alexander. Now hands to Nava. Cleveland has stranded 8. Steve Physiak, C.J. Nitkowski here at Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City. Indians leading the Royals 3-1. We go to the bottom of the 6th inning. It'll be hitters 3, 4, and 5 with Morales, Orlando, and Gordon. And Trevor Bauer throws low, ball 1. Bauer has pitched a good game. The only run he allowed came in the 3rd, and that was the only inning he allowed hits. Fouled off. It's not like they were well struck. Gutierrez was an infield hit that glanced off of Bauer's glove. Dyson rolled one through the hole right side, and Merrifield through the hole left side, and it's a 3-1 score now.
Trevor Bauer up to this point has been exactly what the Cleveland Indians had hoped. You mentioned weak contact. He's been locked in, really hasn't gotten worked up the couple of times there have been guys in scoring position, really hasn't overthrown and stayed within himself, mixing his pitches, which is something he does so well.
There's a base hit by Morales, and he will charge to second base and stay there with a leadoff double. First hit since the 3rd. And here's our greater coverage of baseball sponsored by T-Mobile. It's about how Bauer's been pitching.
Well, I'll tell you what, you take a look at this real quick, and what I've noticed probably more than anything, the command of the fastball. Look how well he uses that two-seamer inside to a lefty, backdoor to a righty, does it again to Alex Gordon. Just a great pitch. And also fielding your position, important part of what you have to do and your responsibilities as a pitcher. And that was on the breaking ball. We'll see another curveball there. Trevor Bauer has got a good one. Speed differential is so big and so important to what he does, and that curveball with the great break and the great spin rate, but also the difference in velocity, so important, keeping hitters off balance.
Paul Orlando with a drive, and it's off the top of the fence. Morales to score. Orlando to second base, and all of a sudden it's a one-run game.
We're saying a lot of good things about Trevor Bauer to start off this inning, but all of a sudden he finds himself in trouble. Now, it's not a terrible pitch. You see it, four-seam fastball, but he's trying to go away. Earlier in the game, great location, great command, hasn't had an issue. That one stayed over the plate and down. Orlando does a nice job getting the barrel to it. Man, what a great finish to the season from Orlando. He has been fantastic, taking advantage, as I mentioned earlier, of all this playing time he's been getting lately.
And he has excellent speed. Lindor will play behind him. Gordon has struck out twice facing Bauer. Now 2 for 11 against the Cleveland right-hander. One of those hits was a home run. Late call. Gordon didn't like it. 0-2.
He certainly did, and I think he probably has a pretty good argument. Look at the location of the glove where it's set up, and now watch on the corner. Ball finishes a ball, and Perez does a nice job of bringing it back on the plate, and does a good job of kind of fooling the whole plate umpire there, Mike Estabrook. And that pitch was off the plate.
Gordon swings and misses, and right now let's go to Ryan Fields. Check out the Orioles and Yankees. Thank you very much, Ryan. And here it's 3-2. The Indians still lead by 1, but Bauer just got a big strikeout with Orlando at second base representing the tying run. So Escobar will step to the plate. Baltimore by 1 over Toronto, and then Detroit on the outside looking in. The Tigers are at Atlanta, and that's Zimmerman against Blair later.
Jordan Zimmerman, another interesting storyline of what potentially could be here in the postseason for him. Was supposed to throw a simulated game originally scheduled, but they put him in the game in relief and looked pretty good, and now they're going to count on him to help out here as they try to knock down, or excuse me, lock down that second wild card spot. Yeah, they brought in on a pretty fair deal when you think about what was out there as far as free agent money goes. He's missed a good part of the season with injuries.
Base hit left field. Here comes Orlando. Crisp will just get the throw to the cutoff man, and this game is tied at 3.
There was a lot made last year about the Kansas City Royals and their ability to scout opposing teams' outfield. Remember with Jose Bautista and how he would throw that ball to second base. Well, Orlando knew right away as we see this breaking ball that sits up a little, not even, it got down there a little bit. Give credit to Escobar for hitting a good pitch and driving it in between the shortstop and third baseman. But Coco Chris does not come up charging this ball, and I say bringing up the scouting because the Royals know that Coco Chris does not have a strong arm. He's not even thinking about trying to field that ball on the run and make a good throw. Orlando does not even hesitate as soon as that ball is hit. It's a great read, it's great base running, and it's great scouting of the opposing team.
Escobar now at first base with 17 steals. Does not go, and Nava chops it off of his front foot. Foul. Daniel has popped up and struck out. Great story, self-made guy. Went to Santa Clara. He didn't make the team as a freshman, so they had him as their equipment manager, washing all of their clothes, which he did, and then transferred to San Mateo Junior College. Had success there, where his coach was Billy Duplessis, who is one of the Royals coaches and monitors what's going on underneath, and he'll decide what to do with the challenges. Well, he really developed Daniel Nava, and Nava went back to Santa Clara. And CJ, when he shows up, his ex-teammates said, "Did you come back to be our equipment manager and wash your clothes again?" He said, "No, I'm here to play." And he led the league in hitting.
Oh, it's incredible. Not only that, and that part of the story is fascinating, that he was able to make it from being an equipment manager to ultimately having a huge season for his college team, but then goes undrafted, right, and goes to the Golden Baseball League, which essentially was an independent league, and did not even make the team there for a year. And they sent him back home. The Chico Outlaws, which are no longer a team. That league is now defunct, and he goes back to that. I mean, this is a guy that understands adversity, that when he's told no, that's not no for him. That might be no for that manager, that team at that moment, but that does not mean no for him. His story has been a great one. But finally lands in independent ball, gets to play, and then all of a sudden 2010 finds himself as a rookie in the big leagues at age 27. Great story.
Swing and a miss. And that's one of the characteristics, I think, that's outstanding with the Royals general manager, Dayton Moore. He seeks out young men with good character. Johnny Gomes last year, the inspiration, the true grit that he brought the team, and even though he didn't play very much, you got to have those guys who understand their roles and play for the team. In there, and Nava is down on strikes. So 2 down. That's 9 strikeouts for Bauer. Not yet through 6 innings. And once again, we've got great postseason games coming your way on October 4th. And all you have to do is go to MLB.com/postseason for a full look at that schedule. Cuthbert, the batter. Bauer's strikeout high this year is 13. That came back on August 19th against the Blue Jays. Indians with 1 in the 2nd, 1 in the 3rd, 1 in the 5th. Royals with 1 in the 3rd and 2 in the 6th.
Amazing there to see 5 of those strikeouts are looking. To me, that speaks to the great command. 6 of the strikeouts on fastballs, 3 of them on the breaking ball. It's not an easy thing to do, especially in today's game where you got guys that are so aggressive. Look at that many strikeouts looking here through 5 2/3.
He didn't give in. He didn't come with a fastball and a 2-0 count. With that little cutter. Escobar has not gone yet. He does. Pitch is swung on and popped up, shallow right, and Kipnis juggles it but makes a nice over the shoulder catch. But Orlando and Escobar tie this game. The defending world champions hosting the Cleveland Indians in game 2 of this series. But what are they playing for? Well, Terry Francona, his Indians playing for home field advantage in the ALDS. And the Royals, it's about pride. Their 4th straight winning season. And Ned Yost said he's very proud of what this team has accomplished. And yesterday, quite frankly, CJ, was a very good example of what the entire organization has accomplished. As Matt Strahm comes out of the bullpen, and he is one of the top young prospects, but the Royals had all of their minor league player of the years and pitchers of the year up here, completely dressed in suits. And all the major leaguers came in during batting practice to congratulate them for their success. But there's a level of consistency and pride and discipline that has been built throughout the organization. And as Ronnie Richardson, who's the director of minor league operations, told me, we want these young men to come up to the big league level where the only question they ask is, what are the signs? They know what Royals baseball is all about.
And player development and doing it well is something that cannot be understated. It's extremely important. I think maybe now more than ever, because we're seeing players get to the big leagues at much younger ages than ever expected, because teams are trying to get a hold of these guys in the big leagues for their prime years. And so that means starting their careers a little bit early. But the downside to that is not being ready. There's a reason why it's been done differently over the years. Well, now you have guys and you have organizations that realize these guys are going to get to the big leagues a little bit quicker. They need to be ready. And so you need to put a little bit more effort into making sure that they are ready, not just their ability, but also understanding this big league life, what is expected of you as a big leaguer, so there are fewer bumps in the road.
Here is Strahm. And he's one of the candidates for the starting rotation next year. He was excellent down in the minor leagues as a starter. Then they moved him to the bullpen to get ready for what he's done. And, well, all he has done is put together fine numbers with a 1.31 ERA. And this is 21st appearance. Not missing by much, but he did miss. And that is a leadoff walk to a speed guy in Lindor. Well, October 8th is Super Saturday, and it kicks off on the gridiron at 11 Eastern as Texas takes on Oklahoma. Then at 3:30 Eastern, it's game 2 of the NLDS. Finally, at 7 Eastern, it's UFC 204, the prelims only on FS1.
Until you talk about Strahm and a guy that they'd like to have in the rotation, that's a value in September. I don't necessarily love all of, what is going on here with September rosters. The conversation has now opened up and saying, we have too many guys here. The Los Angeles Dodgers literally have all 40 of their guys on the roster active in the big leagues. That's probably too many, but there's value in this as well when you're getting guys. Now, Strahm's been here a little bit longer, but for some of these other guys, getting that taste of the big leagues to help get these guys ready for the following year, that's where the advantage is. But I think teams have now taken advantage of that by bringing up all these arms in the middle of playoff races, and that's probably something that is going to be addressed in this next collective bargaining agreement, which does expire after this season.
Yeah, CJ, I wouldn't mind seeing what they do in hockey is just say, okay, these are 25 today.
You see the excellent Don Wakamatsu handwriting there. I don't even have to look down. I see Ned Yost's signature, but I didn't even need to see that to know that that's Don Wakamatsu. I got to spend a little bit of time with the Texas Rangers. And that's a lot of work to fill out that lineup card in perfect calligraphy every single day.
There's a ground ball to the second baseman. Escobar, double play.
No quicker way to erase that walk than getting yourself 2 outs on 1 pitch. And again, lefty versus righty, what do you want to do? You want to be able to use the outside part of the plate to your strength. Use that good sinking fastball that Strahm has with good velocity. Try to get that right-handed power hitter to hit the top half of it. And that is exactly what he did.
He really is a guy who believes in his fastball.
I think you have to at this level. If you lack any confidence or you're worried about guys squaring it up, you're going to find yourself right back in the minor leagues.
Ball 1 to Ramirez, who's been on base twice, hit by a pitch in the first, and singled his last time up, which led to Cleveland's 3rd run on a sac fly by Chisenhall. One ball, 1 strike. tight at 94. And Matt from West Fargo, North Dakota. Not a lot of baseball talent comes from that area. Travis Hafner, Darren Erstad.
It's interesting to watch Drew Butera here with the strong fastball because we haven't seen him catching it cleanly. That's not a knock on him. I think it's part of Strom missing some spots, but also I think that tells you about the life on the fastball. We've seen some cut, we've seen some run, and you see him giving that sign just to calm down a little bit, stay focused on the glove. He has missed some spots, but it has not been an easy fastball to catch cleanly.
Merrifield and Strom with a shutout 7th inning. The new Cleveland pitcher in a 3-3 game here in the bottom of the 7th inning. Bauer is out. Manship 3.14 ERA, but Cleveland has one of the best bullpens in the American League. Second in ERA at 3.45, and Manship has been one of their setup guys.
And he's done a really nice job. And it's Cody Allen, Andrew Miller, Brian Shaw, kind of the big three arms, but you get a little bit deeper and there's been a lot of solid production from the Cleveland Indians. Jeff Manship, Dan Otero as well, but it's done a really nice job. And some of these guys don't necessarily do it with overpowering stuff. Manship, one of those guys, you see a fastball there at 92. That's near the peak, but he is your typical kind of sinker slider righty. 43% of the time he's throwing that slider right there that you just saw.
Well, he jumps ahead of Drew Butera, who's been on twice with a single and a walk, and a run scored. Manship, a 6'2" right-hander out of Notre Dame. Didn't miss by much.
Manship kind of consistently working Butera away. Seen the fastball actually has peaked out at 93 so far this inning, but the good slider. And try to finish him off with another slider here.
And he does on the inside corner for strike 3. Drew does not agree with home plate umpire, but let's go to Ryan Fields, who wants to update us on the Dodgers Giants. here it's a 3-3 game. That Giant team very interested in what the St. Louis Cardinals are doing, because the Cardinals breathing down the Giants now. That ball sliced into center field. Dyson hard around first, going for two. He will make it with a double.
Gerard Dyson stung this baseball, and it is so much fun to watch him run the base. You see him there, the bigger bat, but he chokes up on it, stays in the middle of the field. But Tyler Naquin does a nice job of cutting this ball off. And as soon as it was hit, I tell you this, he's thinking triple right away, because you're always thinking a base ahead. And if Tyler Naquin doesn't cut this off, that's easily a triple and maybe more. Such a difficult throw to make as you spin around and try to get anything on that throw. But watching Gerard Dyson run the bases never gets old.
And in the second half of the season, he's been using a Salvador Perez bat and choking up, like you said, a couple of inches.
And it looks big. I don't know. Do you know how long that bat is by any chance? It looked pretty big.
34.
That's it. So when you see a guy the size of Gerard Dyson, you're not thinking he's going to use a 34-inch bat. And it looked like it was a big barrel bat as well, maybe an R141 or C243, whatever it might be. But that's why he chokes up on it, a little bit more barrel to work with.
Now Merrifield. And with that slider, should a right-handed hitter's approach be to look the opposite field?
I think so. I mean, listen, there's very typical right-handed pitchers that you always talk about in your meetings. You say this guy is a sinker slider guy. So the problem that you have there, of course, is that Manship can run the two-seam fastball in on your hands. And so if you're only looking out over the plate to drive the ball the other way, you're going to get tied up and make some pretty weak contact if he does throw that two-seamer in. So the idea is your ability to pick up spin. That's why some of the best hitters in the game have incredible eyesight. They can pick up that spin, they can have an idea, and they can react quicker than most, but it's certainly no easy task.
Yeah, there are legendary stories of the eyesight of Ted Williams, one of the greatest hitters of all time, and a guy who you get a chance to work with, the hit king, Pete Rose. Well, he's been throwing him that slider away, and now it's a 3-1 count.
Merrifield's got some pretty interesting splits. 355 coming into today against lefties, 256 against righties. So certainly an advantage here for Manship. And this is not a guy you want to walk. You're not thinking about trying to set up a double play. Not when you have to get to the middle of the lineup with Kendrys Morales and Orlando behind him.
Full count. Big crowd on hand at Kauffman Stadium on Fan Appreciation Day, on the second to final game of the season. Merrifield takes it off the plate. Francona looks like he may make a change with the switch hitter Morales coming up. Do have a lefty warming up, Kyle Crockett. We'll be right back. We're in the bottom of the 7th inning. The Royals have 2 on with 1 out. Mike Clevenger comes out of the bullpen. Crockett, the left-hander, sat down, and it will be Clevenger versus Kendrys Morales. Clevenger has been both a starter and a reliever this year. Ball 1.
This is interesting here. Now, first of all, take a look at what Kendrys Morales has done this past month with runners in scoring position. He's been 15 for 30. It's a pretty good batting average, and he's gotten it done. But then he's also got some pretty dramatic splits: 330 against lefties, just 233 against righties. And so you can understand the Clevenger move here as opposed to maybe going to a lefty.
A strike evens the count.
The counter to that now, if you want to dig into numbers and you think about what do, you see the power numbers there a little bit stronger against righties, obviously many more at bats in that situation. But the counter to that is you look at a guy like Clevenger, not a ground ball pitcher, only a 38% ground ball rate. That's pretty low. He's only got 1 double play this year. So you're in the middle of the inning with 1 out, runners at first and second. I would think that Terry Francona would rather have a stronger ground ball guy like a Dan Otero, who's got 11 ground balls induced this year, but they're going to give Clevenger a chance and see what he can do in this situation.
Two balls and 1 strike. Otero worked last night, 7-2 Cleveland win. And it was set up exactly as you said, going to Otero, Shaw, Ben Allen, the one guy that did not pitch, Andrew Miller. Fouled off. Count is even, 2-2.
This is really one of the most difficult parts of being a big league manager, pushing the right buttons, making those bullpen calls. And I'm spitting out numbers, and we're talking about all the things that go into making this decision as we see Kendrys Morales way out in front of that changeup from Clevenger. There's some things that we don't know that Terry Francona does, and whether that means he wants to see Clevenger in this situation potentially for the postseason, or whether he knows certain guys are down or not feeling well. There's so many different things that go into it, but second guessing a manager on bullpen moves, especially in-game bullpen moves, is such an easy thing to do, but you never know the complete story.
Morales sends it to third. They're going to go for the double play, but it's a little wide of the mark. They do get Dyson, and now it'll be first and second with 2 out. I beg your pardon. Miller did pitch last night and got 2 out, so they went with their big 4, their main 4 guys we addressed.
Morales was very uncomfortable through this entire at bat, and Clevenger does a nice job. Interesting, Jose Ramirez there trying to turn that double play. You got no chance. You got to be careful. Watch him go in here. The fastball in, cuts back over the plate, 95 miles an hour, perfectly executed. A really difficult at bat for Morales, but watch Ramirez steps on the bag, tries to turn it. But what was interesting, I think, more than anything, was that Dyson pulled up. Still probably want my runner to go hard there and slide just for that reason, in case they did have any chance of turning that kind of 5 unassisted 3 double play.
Now Merrifield second, Morales first. And Orlando, who ripped a double last time up.
We saw this from Orlando back in the 6th inning. Trevor Bauer trying to throw that fastball down and away, left it over the plate, and Orlando was all over it. What a great game. We've seen him make some good throws. They didn't turn into assists, but they've been strong throws, but also offensively swinging the bat extremely well.
And he pops this one up foul territory. Long run for Perez, and he won't get there. So life for the Royals in the bottom of the 7th inning.
This is no easy play for Perez as Orlando gets tied up. It takes a little bit for Perez to pick it up and slows down. He's kind of got caught in between there. How close is he to the rail? Do you want to slide to try to stand up? And that ball did not get very high in the air. He just ran out of time.
So Clevenger making some quality pitches to get Morales out. And now quality pitches to get Orlando down in the count 0-2. Foul tipped into the glove, and that is a strikeout. So the Royals lead 2 in the 7th. Stadium. Matt Strom will stay in the game. Rajai Davis is pinch hitting, and he takes outside ball 1. Because Strom stayed on the hill, and you have a lefty, a switch hitter, and then another lefty. Francona changing up, going with the veteran Davis. Just high, 2-0, and Davis, I think, thought that one was a strike, but didn't get the call from Estabrook for that young man. Now 3-0. This is not the guy you want to walk. He leads the American League in stolen bases with 42.
He's doing it at 35 years old, which makes it all the more impressive. You always talk about speed guys and guys that rely on their legs, and you worry about that skill set starting to deteriorate as you get older. But here he is at 35, still getting it done. Rajai Davis still has the great speed.
Yeah, the last guy to do it older than that was the great Ricky Henderson. At the age of 39, he led the league in stolen bases. And there's a strike, 3-1. Three and 2, and just barely grazed the inside corner with that fastball.
You see him trying to go away, but the ball actually cuts back on the inside part of the plate, and that's what I was talking about with Drew Patera. This is not an easy fastball to catch because of the location that is missed and the movement sometimes is not intended.
And that is the 4th inning in this game where the Royals have walked the leadoff man for Cleveland. Again later tonight, don't miss Hurt and Hustle as Hall of Famer Frank Thomas and hit king Pete Rose defend their opinions on baseball's biggest issues and topics. Hurt and Hustle tonight, 7 o'clock Eastern, only on FS1. Beg your pardon, it has been 5 innings that have started with leadoff walks. Only one of them, 2 of them have scored. Kevin McCarthy starts to warm up in the Kansas City bullpen. The batter is Coco Crisp, but the last time Strom walked the leadoff man in the 7th inning, Napoli hit into a 4-6-3 double play. Strike one.
You know, one point of that too is we talk about the Strom fastball and Butera. It's obviously if it's a little difficult to catch, it's difficult to hit. It's difficult to square it up, and so you can see why there would be good results. You can see why the Kansas City Royals are high on this young man as he's getting ready to throw over to first base there. As you see the thumb flip. And even the throw is cut a little bit as you see Daniel Nava have to go down and deal with the movement on that fastball. It's not a great move, and one certainly that Rajai Davis is getting a good read on, but there's still intent there. A lot of times with a left-handed pitcher, your base runners are going to go first move. So you can get a guy potentially maybe not on your best move, but you lift your leg and he goes, and you'll have a chance at picking him off. But certainly for Strom, as he's going to throw over again for a 3rd time, you got to believe that there's a little bit of a better move in there. Certainly Drew Butera would like him to keep Rajai Davis close, at least to give him a chance to throw him out.
Crisp takes strike one, and he has a beef about it with Estabrook.
And I think it's legitimate. You know, one thing for me when I'm watching Strom throw is kind of the way that he comes set in his delivery. And you'll see this pitch here. It almost looks like it has some rise on it, like it's continuing to go up. That's a tough call to get. Coco Crisp, I think, has a legitimate excuse there. But watch the back leg of Strom right here. You know, it's always bent when he goes, so that makes it very difficult to get on top of the ball and drive it down. So as he comes set, his back leg is already bent. Now, so saying in pitching that you want to be able to stay tall, it's not always about just necessarily staying tall, but the fact that that leg is already down when he comes set, you just have to work a little bit harder to be able to drive the ball down because he's already almost starting underneath a little bit, and that's why you're seeing those balls, I think, sail a little bit up and away the way we have so far.
That one did sail up and away. Strom has not been asked to go multiple innings that often. Now, again, he was a former starter in the minor leagues.
The overcompensation for that, when you start to get under, like we've just seen a couple in a row, is then you overcompensate and then you get too far in front and you cut it, which we've also seen on the pitch that he walked Rajai Davis with. It's just a matter of finding that consistent release point, which we've seen not be very consistent so far in this inning.
He's gone 2+ innings twice. And he strikes him out with a good fastball at 92. Big first out here in the top of the 8th inning.
You see the frustration from Coco Crisp, and he chases this pitch because of the one that was called a strike earlier in the at-bat, and so that he knows there's a chance that's going to get called. You see frustration. That is not a pitch that he would like to be swinging at.
So now Strom will see another right-hander in switch hitting, Abraham Almonte. He'll be pinch hitting for Tyler Naquin. And Ned Yost, I think he's going to go with the right-hander, Kevin McCarthy, who's been warming. Matt Strom's afternoon is over. Just had a conversation with Rusty Kuntz about Rajai Davis's lead and Strom's throwovers. Now the ball will be handed to Kevin McCarthy, and he is pitching in his 10th big league game this year. Has 1 win.
I think the value of talking to a guy like Rusty Kuntz in that situation, obviously he's the base running coach here. He's been around for a long time. It's not always just about talking to your pitching coach. You know, talk to the base running guy. Talk to your opposing or your hitters or even your own hitting coach and think that you can learn the game from different angles. Very important for young players to do that. And so he saw some things in Rajai Davis that he wants to share with his pitcher in that situation to help him grow, understand, and build up that baseball IQ.
Davis had a huge jump and will steal second base. .43rd stolen base for Davis.
Don Wakamatsu on the phone. Want to know if this is worth something about replaying, but you see that left hand and the oven mitt get in there, and just what you're looking for in this. I think he easily got his hand in, but then you wonder, did his hand come off? That's always, as you see it there, but then where's the foot? And it does appear that he was able to keep contact with the bag the entire time. Watch the hand. When it comes off, where's the left foot? Left foot's on the bag.
So now the go-ahead run in scoring position with just 1 out. Count 1-0 to Almonte. And Kevin McCarthy has a heavy sinker, and he'll throw it at times 95 miles an hour.
It's incredible, and we're seeing a lot of this. The best one in baseball right now is Zach Britton with the Baltimore Orioles. Best sinker in the game, and he does it at 97, 98. Usually, and it had been for years, the guys that had the good movement would sit maybe in the low 90s, but we're seeing more and more power arms that have the great movement. And you talk about heavy, and so a lot of people wonder, what does that mean? Heavy? Does the ball doesn't weigh any heavier than anybody else's baseball? It's still the regulation 5 ounces, but it's the way that it comes in. It's the rotation. It's actually less rotation as opposed to more. We talk about spin rate a lot of time, and your good sinker balls will actually have less, and it just feels heavy coming in. You play catch with a good sinker ball, it hurts your hand. Trying to hit that baseball off the end of the bat, you can feel it in your hands. Might break some bats doing it as well. And these kind of guys are great for ground balls. Those kind of guys that usually turn into the ground ball kind of double play specialist, but that kind of velocity can also strike guys out.
Yeah, he pitched brilliantly in his last outing for the first 2 batters, striking out 1, and then gave up a hit and then hung a slider to Kenny Vargas, who had a 2-run home run, and then he walked a pair. Hit sharply. Merrifield out, able to just knock it down. Davis will score, and that will give Cleveland a 4-3 lead. There will be an error on Whit Merrifield.
Well, this was not an easy play by any means. You see some of that frustration for Merrifield, but he actually started going to his right as that ball was hit, and so he had to come back a step or 2. This ball was hit extremely hard. Watch him go to his right just a little bit and then have to break back the other way. Now, yeah, he could have caught that ball. His glove was right on it. The fact that he was moving the other way and that it was hit so hard is the reason why he probably missed it.
So the leadoff walk, stolen base, lead to Cleveland's advantage, and the Royals pitchers have walked 6 batters. 3 have scored. Perez takes ball 1.
You see that good movement now with McCarthy having the good sink like we were talking about. When you have these good sinker ball pitchers with good movement, you also have to live with the walks. Those are going to be part of it. The ball's going to run out of the zone. It's not ideal, and the best ones are able to increase their command to become much better with it. But that's always one of the hurdles that good sinker ballers have to get over, is finding a way to keep that baseball in the zone.
Andrew Miller warming in the Cleveland bullpen. Just a reminder, the premiere of Hurt and Hustle is coming up after the ball game. FS1.
I'll tell you, Frank Thomas, extremely excited about this. I've talked to him all week. We're doing studio over the last couple of weeks at FS1. He's really excited about the show with Pete. These guys are, obviously, I mentioned it earlier, great baseball players, but great personalities. You guys want to stick around and watch that, you'll have a lot of fun. Never a dull moment. Frank Thomas and Pete Rose are in the green room at FS1 in Los Angeles.
Few arguments, I would imagine.
Great storytelling. Unfortunately, the kind of stuff that rarely can get on air, but really, really good storytelling as well. And these guys, they've done a ton in the game. Two incredible players from different generations. It's got a little bit of the odd couple in it, for sure, with them, and a little bit of the back and forth.
Meantime, Almonte 8 for 8 stealing bases this year. He does not go, and the pitch is wide of the mark, and the two rookie pitchers, Strom and McCarthy, have been wild in this 8th inning. That's 7 walks by Royal pitching this afternoon. Major League postseason begins Tuesday with the AL wild card on TBS and Wednesday with the National League wild card on ESPN. Then on Friday, the National League Division Series begins on FS1 and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Here a game that was tied at 3 starting the 8th inning. But a walk by Strom to the speedy Rajai Davis. A strikeout, a stolen base, an error, another walk. It's 4-3 Cleveland, and they have runners on first and second with only 1 out. Santana, the batter. All he's done is walk, double, and triple. And he single, doubled, and tripled last night. Michael Martinez pinch running at first base for Perez.
Interesting about Michael Martinez this year, if you remember, he spent about a month with the Boston Red Sox. And so obviously now he started with the Indians, went to the Red Sox, now back here with the Cleveland Indians. So he's got he's double invested in the postseason here. Got two shots at a ring. Now obviously he wants it with the uniform that he's currently wearing, and he would like to have a Cleveland Indians World Series ring, which would be a terrific one to have. But if the Boston Red Sox end up winning it all, Michael Martinez will find himself holding a Red Sox World Series ring.
And when they couldn't protect him, it really killed Terry Francona, because he loves Martinez. He can do so much. He can play every position. Speed guy, pinch runner. So valuable once you get to postseason. And McCarthy's gone wild. One of the keys is controlling a count. Whenever you fall behind, you're asking for trouble.
When you're a rookie and you're pitching in these tight games and you're facing Carlos Santana, who has been red hot, who has been great in this ballpark over the course of his career, the anxiety level starts to go up, and it's also becoming about controlling the emotions as well as the baseball.
3-1.
And since the Royals are not a postseason team this year, this is a luxury that Ned Yost has, is to throw these guys in the fire, close games, and see what they have. And Drew Butera is now going to try to guide him through this and get him back to where he needs to be mentally, and making sure that he's being aggressive against Carlos Santana. Listen, you're going to get hit, and Ned Yost would much rather see these young guys get hit around the ballpark than walking guys. And so I think Drew Butera is probably telling Santana that stay aggressive in the zone, trust your stuff, trust your defense. Whatever happens after that happens, but when you don't throw strikes, you take it out of everybody else's hands.
May have said, we can get out of this on 1 pitch, just keep it down, be aggressive. In there, and he went with the changeup on a 3-1 count. That's his 3rd best pitch.
Love the confidence, and obviously Butera saw something there. Well, look at the reaction from Santana. It's a moment there for McCarthy that you learn from. This guy's sitting dead red in a 3-1 count from a pitcher who's struggling with control, and he throws a pretty good changeup and completely had Santana thrown off.
Misses ball 4. 3rd walk of the inning. 8th of the game. The batter is Jason Kipnis. Cleveland had the bases loaded in a similar situation in the first inning with 1 out and did not score. Kipnis with 82 RBIs. Ball 1. There's a strike, 1-1.
Jason Kipnis did not like that call. That ball probably finished off the plate, and for Jason Kipnis, he doesn't want to give at bats away right here. He's grinding. He knows McCarthy's struggling. When you see a pitch off the plate like that, you certainly would expect it to be called a ball.
Fouled out of play. Kipnis does have a rather flat swings, and a lot of times he'll get on top of a sinker. He has grounded into a team high 21 double plays this year. Line drive caught by Merrifield. So now McCarthy to face Lindor, who is 0 for 2 but has walked twice. The Indians have scored a run without a hit. Strike 1. Seems like he's having more trouble commanding his fastball than his slider or his changeup.
Yeah, and you can see again why the Royals would get excited. The stuff is there. The movement on the fastball is there. Changeup was really good. The slider is good. But yes, you got to be able to have that fastball command to make that all work together. But there's a lot of upside here with McCarthy just having a little bit of a tough outing right now.
And it's down the line, a fair ball, and that will score at least 2 runs. They had those stop Santana at third base, and it's now a 6-3 score.
Kevin McCarthy was almost able to get out of this, but unable there. And a good job by Lindor. Watch this pitch away. Looks like a changeup. Now check that fastball at 93 on the corner. And it's a two-seamer, and it's good movement. You got to tip your cap here because that ball is even off the plate. It's a good pitch. Francisco Lindor did a nice job. Didn't hit it particularly hard, but got it right down the line and did his job of driving those runs in.
So Lindor with the double. There's a ground ball to the left side, fielded by Escobar. He'll throw out Mike Napoli, but the Indians come up with 3 in the top of the 8th. place like home because they're 53-28 at Progressive Field this year, averaging 5.5 runs per game, and that's why that home field advantage means so much to them. Well, Yan Gomes will come into play for Roberto Perez after he was pinch run for. Gomes, the new catcher, and Alex Gordon will be out there facing Andrew Miller.
What an addition this has been for the Cleveland Indians. They got their man, and he has had an unbelievable effect on this team. There's so many numbers when you have a guy like this that you could dig into and be in awe of. You see the 120 strikeouts to just 9 walks. What has been fascinating to me, his strikeout to walk rate, 13.3 right now. That is the second highest all time among relievers with at least 70 innings pitched. It is a huge, huge number. Andrew Miller has been dominant the entire season, but especially since he's been here in Cleveland. When you think about, you come through, I don't know, I was drafted in '94. You come through, you're trying to 2-to-1 strikeout to ratio. 3-to-1 is really good. 13-to-1. It's unbelievable.
And he gets a strikeout on the outside corner, and Gordon is out number 1. With the back of the bullpen, starting with Dan Otero.
No, this bullpen has been great, and they're built in a way that you really like because it's different looks. You have Shaw there, throws a lot of cutters. Otero with the good movement, keeping the ball on the ground. Andrew Miller, Cody Allen getting strikeouts at the end of the game. This team can mix and match. It is a deep bullpen. Very similar to what we saw in Kansas City the last couple of years. They have a championship caliber bullpen, but Andrew Miller really was kind of the icing on the cake, that last final piece that has helped everybody in that bullpen. And it has been a lot of fun for Terry Francona to pick up the phone. Not always for all managers, but it is fun for him when he's had to pick up the phone and call one of these great relievers in.
Yeah, every single reliever has picked up their pace, has a lower ERA since he arrived.
And probably maybe the most important part is you got a guy who absolutely could be a closer, does not care if he closes, does not care what his role is. He came in and he told Terry Francona that from day 1, and in the very first day, I want to say first or second day, he pitched in the 6th inning. He hadn't pitched in the 6th inning all year with the New York Yankees, but he doesn't mind. He's got his contract. He just wants to win, and he is perfectly fine being a setup man, being used in the 6th, 7th, 8th, whatever it takes to win. It's a very unselfish attitude.
Ramirez throw out Escobar. And here are the numbers with the quartet we were talking about. Otero with a 1.84 ERA, 20 strikeouts against only 1 walk. Shaw at 1.66. Miller has been crazy, 43 strikeouts, only 2 walks. And Cody Allen, 10 for 11 in saves.
A couple of things have to happen when you have a good bullpen and you get results like this. One, you have to have personnel, and they have personnel, and they have depth of personnel. Like I mentioned, a bunch of different looks, a lot of good arms. The other thing you have to be able to have is a manager that knows how to use it and put those guys in the best positions to succeed. And I think that's exactly what we're seeing right now with the Indians.
Now Daniel Nava, switch hitter, batting from the right side. He's 0 for 3 today. He went, and it's a 1-1 count. And they will be counting on that bullpen because of the injuries we talked about with their starting rotation. Much like the Royals in the last 2 years, somehow have Kluber, Tomlin, and Bauer get the tie game or the lead to that fabulous bullpen.
They're going to be used a lot, without a doubt, in the postseason. And any kind of run that they try to make, his bullpen is going to be taking on a big part of the workload.
CJ, it's a bad time to ask you this question with 2 out, but what are the edges and what are the flaws of Boston and Cleveland when they face each other?
A couple of things right now. I mean, there's not a lot of flaws really on either team. The Indians are dealing, of course, with the injuries in the rotation. That could be an issue for them getting into a potential 7-game series, but you obviously got to get through this first one. So that's going to be important as far as the depth of the rotation, your go-to guys. There's not a lot of bad things happening in Boston right now, except for who's going to be the 3rd starter. You have David Price, who has yet to ever win a start in the postseason. 8 starts, he's yet to win one. Rick Porcello has been great, but then what happens after that between Drew Pomeranz, who's not going to be there anymore, who is going to get that 3rd start is going to be very important for the Red Sox.
6-3, Indians leading KC. Davis, a speed guy, led to a 3-run inning. Lindor with a 2-run double in that 3-run eighth. And here's our prevailing moment of the game, sponsored by the Hartford.
Francisco Lindor coming up big in a big situation. It's not always about how hard you hit it, but where you hit it. And it was a quality at bat. He took a good approach to the sinker ball pitcher. Hit that ball the other way, smiling a little bit, knowing that he didn't exactly square it up, but he'll take that double any way he can, and those RBIs as well.
You got to have fun and smile in a tough game. And here is Jose Ramirez to lead things off. Brooks Pounders, the new pitcher. He worked a 1-2-3 ninth inning last night, needing just 13 pitches. Brooks, a Southern California guy. They started him in the minor leagues, but when they moved him to the bullpen, he really started to shine.
Every great reliever at one point was a starter, whether it was the minor leagues or in high school, whatever it is. Certainly, we see the process of learning how to start, how to pitch, and then ultimately you find yourself a home in the bullpen. You can be effective there if it doesn't work out in the rotation.
Command has been a mystery for the Royals in this one. They have walked 8 batters and now on a 2-1 count. Ramirez goes after it and flies out to Gordon in left. Now Davis, who started the Royals' trouble to open the 8th inning in a 3-3 game. At a 3-2 count. Matt Strom walked him. After Strom struck out Crisp, he stole second base. And 3 runs would score. Davis on Merrifield's error. The other 2 runs on the double by Lindor. How about New York's victory over Baltimore today? Boy, that's painful for the O's.
And just when you think, obviously, the Yankees not going to the postseason, but it's still fun to play spoiler. And again, I mentioned it with the Royals. I think it's important for the Yankees now. They're a little bit of a younger roster playing in important games, not so much for their team, but other teams coming at them with everything they have. There's a lot to be learned in that process, and they're getting an opportunity to play spoiler right now in that American League wild card, which is something that is becoming all the more interesting as we get down the stretch here, especially because the Tigers may have to play on Monday.
Baltimore with a half-game lead over the Toronto Blue Jays in the American League wild card. We told you Detroit will play later tonight. They are at Atlanta.
Check that out real quick. All 3, the top 3 there, all have 73 losses, so they're tied up in the loss column. That will be absolute chaos for Major League Baseball if we get a 3-way tie.
And that's why Cleveland will be going to Detroit when this series is over.
And that's the day that the tiebreakers are supposed to be played if they're there. But if the Tigers have to play that game, which it looks like they're probably going to have to, it just really messes with the schedule.
Eric Gonzalez, the batter. A swing and a miss, and it's interesting. The Yankees, always a team that went after the best, but this year they acquired Aroldis Chapman and acquired Andrew Miller so they could trade them for prospects before the deadline to rebuild.
Well, I think they did a perfect job of basically playing it both ways, right? They brought in Aroldis Chapman. It was the second year that Andrew Miller was already there. They had Dylan Betances, so they had a championship bullpen in place. And if the team was competitive, that bullpen would have stayed in place. But once they realized that they probably were not going to make it to the postseason, made a smart move. I think trading Aroldis Chapman and Beltran, those were automatics. You're going to trade those guys. They're both going to be free agents. Andrew Miller was a little bit of a different story, but the Cleveland Indians came with a strong offer, which included Clint Frazier, one of their top prospects, going to the Yankees along with 3 other players. They decided to go ahead and take the plunge now. And so the Yankees have been trying to get younger, try to have more manageable players, and they have certainly done that at this past trading deadline. And they still have Dylan Betances, who was still one of the best, even though he struggled lately, still one of the best relievers in the game.
And The Royals had to do that last year. They knew they had a great chance at winning the Central, but they wanted to win the World Series, so they went out and acquired Johnny Cueto from Cincinnati, Ben Zobrist from Oakland. Had to give up some top prospects. And out at second base is Gonzalez, but Terry Francona says not so fast. We may challenge. They want to at least look at it.
You might as well at this point in the game. Why not take that chance? And real quick to kind of finish up your point on the relievers, the price was so high for relievers, so why not move one of your guys if you can get 4 prospects in return? We watch this replay here. Watch the left hand. Did the tag get down there? That's really close. It's hard to see whether or not Escobar got that tag down in time. That's
got to be
tough.
Clear and convincing.
That's right, and that's always the downside of this, is there's got to be enough to overturn it. Looks like he might have missed him there, and then by the time he got him, the left hand was in.
Well, they're talking with New York right now. We were just talking about New York making trades to improve for the future, which is not like New York and some of the smaller market teams playing for the right now.
Yeah, it's a lot different feel right now for the Yankees because they did make these moves, but I think these fans are starting to get it a little bit. They don't like the idea of a rebuild, but I think what they've seen is they've seen the product of it a little bit with some of these young players doing well, and they get it and they understand the business side. And this is not a team that's going into a 3-year rebuild. This is a team that will go into a very quick rebuild, and they'll certainly expect to be competitive next year. The fact that this is taking a little bit longer tells me they're struggling to figure out whether or not that tag was actually made the first time the glove went down.
They'll have one more with these 2 ball clubs. For the Royals, the season will be over, and Ian Kennedy will be on the hill facing Josh Tomlin. Looks like he'll be the number 3 starter for the Indians when they head to the postseason. He's out. So the call is confirmed, and it does stand. Cleveland goes to the bottom of the 9th, leading by 3. Here in Kansas City, Cleveland with a 6-3 lead at 7:30 Eastern. Hart and Hustle starts on Fox Sports 2. When our game ends, we will join Hart and Hustle, already in progress here on FS1. Steve Physiak, CJ Nitkowski at Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City. It was a 3-3 game until the Indians scored 3 in the top of the 8th to take the lead, and Cody Allen, who is an excellent closer, throws a wild first pitch all the way back to the screen. He did not hit the Durham Bull, but Macy's Aguilar is at first base. A little high there, 2-0.
You mentioned Cody Allen being one of the big strikeout threats in this bullpen. Andrew Miller, 14.9 strikeouts per 9. Cody Allen, 11.5. Still a great number. And Brian Shaw, 9.3. A lot of good swing and miss at the back end of this Indians bullpen. Not just that they're good, but also their top 3 guys can really generate the strikeouts.
And Francona has some flexibility. Just as an example, if there's like 3 straight left-handers in the 9th inning, he may flip them and go with Allen in the 8th and Miller to finish off the 9th.
It's a nice option to have, and the big part of that is that the guys that are in that bullpen are on board with it, and they're okay with every once in a while for Cody Allen. You may not get that save opportunity because the matchups are a little bit better, and certainly he'd like to have those saves. They affect him financially and where his contract goes, but he's been in the right frame of mind. From everything that we understand, these guys are on board with what they're trying to do.
In the Royals World Championship season last year, Dayton Moore said probably the most valuable pitcher was Chris Young, because Chris didn't care what you did. He just wanted to win. He started, he relieved, and did a terrific job at both. Fouled off 3-2 still.
Part of what makes that work in the bullpens, because the conversation right now nationally is, should you be using your best reliever in the highest leverage situation? That doesn't always mean the 9th inning, like we see this 6-3 game right now. You got a 3-run lead, you're starting a fresh inning. Well, what about when there's guys on base earlier in the game or facing maybe the middle of the lineup in the 8th inning? But the thing that makes that work ultimately is that these setup guys will get paid somewhat as close to the way closers will. That will get them on board a little bit more and understanding it's okay to be a setup guy even though you have closer stuff. Herrera is a perfect example, right? When his time comes, they've already given a 2-year deal, but now pay him again. That he's going to be arbitration eligible here becomes very important to making that work and really getting the non-closers on board with the different roles.
Allen going right after him with the fastball. Cuthbert has had a good year against the Tribe this year. Came in hitting .378, but tonight 0 for 2 with a walk. And there is strike 3 called. 14th strikeout by Cleveland pitchers tonight.
You watch this pitch right on the corner, probably borderline, maybe a little bit down. Look at Yan Gomes. Subtle movement. We talk about receiving now more than ever and the way that catchers do it. It's not big movement. Catch that ball from the bottom up and slight movement. Give the home plate umpire a really good look. Yan Gomes probably stole one right there.
7 called strike 3s by Kansas City, who is known as a very aggressive club. Butera, he is singled and scored, walked and struck out. And Drew swung at a pitch that was short of the plate.
You see his reaction there. You got to smile. You got to laugh. It's a 1-0 count, 6-3 game. You're batting 9th. You're thinking fastball, right? He's throwing me a fastball, and Drew Butera misses his pitch. I don't mean to laugh because it's not an easy thing to do, but he was obviously sitting fastball there and guessing fastball, and sometimes you're going to guess wrong.
I remember seeing Vlad Guerrero hit that pitch for a double.
One of the best bad ball hitters we have ever seen, I think, in the history of the game. Vlad Guerrero. There was no scouting report. Didn't make sense. It was almost like facing Wade Boggs or Tony Gwynn. Just throw it down the middle because they can hit the ball 6 inches off the plate and the ones that are maybe 2 inches off the ground.
Beautiful breaking ball outside corner. So Allen 2 for 2 in his first 2 batters, both with strikeouts. He is 30 for 33 in saves chances this year. For 30 saves, tied for 8th most in the American League. Dyson with a couple of hits today, a single and a double. Drives that one a mile foul. Cleveland won last night 7-2. Rookie Ryan Merritt won his first major league game, and unless the Royals have an amazing comeback here, they'll still need one more win to lock up their 4th straight winning season. The Tribe has dominated Kansas City this year, winning 12 of the 17. Three and one. And there is another gapper for Dyson. He'll stop at first, of course, with 2 out. No reason to go anywhere. 3-hit game for Dyson, a pair of singles and a double. And Merrifield will come up for the 5th time.
Another ball that he squares up. We mentioned it earlier, choking up on the bat and doing a really nice job. Good line drive, staying in the middle of the field. That's what you want your guys with speed to do. Either hit the ball on the ground, line drive. You just don't want them popping the ball up in the air. And it's been a good night here for Jarrod Dyson.
Pitch off the plate to Merrifield, ball 1. Dyson goes, smash to Ramirez, back on his feet, throws out Merrifield, and what a play by Jose Ramirez. The Cleveland Indians with a 6-3 victory over Kansas City. And for CJ Nitkowski, I'm Steve Physiak. Now let's go to Hurt and Hustle, already in progress.